It is Friday, so we are getting a ton of injury updates here, ladies and gentlemen. First thing is, Joe Burrow did practice today, obviously playing on Monday. If he's out there, if he's suiting up, if he's still practicing throughout this week, it looks more and more likely that Joe Burrow will actually be playing on Monday. Now, does this mean we start Joe Burrow? No. We probably don't start Joe Burrow in fantasy. I mean, I'm really hoping that he does well, but still, the outside chance that he doesn't play, you probably want to be avoiding him now. Of course, you still start Chase, you still start Higgins, you still start Mixon. Don't overthink it, especially when these players are so damn talented that they could still go out there and perform in fantasy even with no Joe Burrow. Now, the other thing is, you have no Anthony Richardson. We kind of already knew that. Not going to be impacting, in my mind at least, Michael Pittman Jr., even if Anthony Richardson is a phenomenal real-life NFL quarterback. Richardson's going to be taking a lot of the points in this offense for himself with his rushing, so I don't think the transition over to Gardner Minshew should negatively impact Michael Pittman Jr. too much. Now, another thing is Jalen Waddle still in concussion protocol, but at least did get to practice. I mean, it is nice seeing that Waddle is out there on the field practicing. And if he does play this weekend, you will play Waddle, even though the weather may not be great. And one last thing, ladies and gentlemen, I can answer any more injury updates that you'll have. But Austin Eckler will not be playing. Now, for Eckler to get ruled out this early on, for Eckler not to practice at all this week, not only does this suck if you have Austin Eckler for week 3, it also maybe leads you to believe that Eckler may not be good to go in week 4 either. Now, I'm not saying that's for sure going to be the case, but it looks like that is a possibility at this point, ladies and gentlemen. So let me go ahead and get ready to answer some of these questions. And as I do so, let me remind you, if you have not done so already, please drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel. This is day 147 of live streaming in a row, and we are not stopping until 2024. Also, let me turn on the fan 1 second. Plus, for this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog, you can find that link in the live chat. Find it in the description. Find it in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match up to $500 on new accounts. Plus, you're going to be getting our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, a Lamar Jackson special pickup, more than less than half a total yard against the Indianapolis Colts this Sunday. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that y'all have seen, we are sending out a ton of Flock fantasy hats for the people that signed up to Underdog with promo code FLOCK. So if you want a Flock hat, please make sure you go down there and join Underdog. Fill out the link in the Discord so I can get that for you as well. But Nick coming out says, Yo Mason just traded Brandon Ayuk and Miles Sanders for Jahmyr Gibbs sitting at 2-0. We have Lamar, Bijan, Gibbs, Tyreek. Oh my gosh, phenomenal team. On the bench, we have Madison. One other thing we did not mention, Akers will not be playing this weekend. You can start Alexander Madison. Now, Kareem Hunt will be playing, so I am going to be avoiding both Hunt and Ford this week. But nonetheless, Michael Thomas, Ingram, Tutu, Richardson, JT, looking to get another solid wide receiver. Any ideas what to do? First off, phenomenal trade here for Gibbs. If you're telling me we have the depth where we still have Jonathan Taylor, still have Michael Thomas down on the bench, I think that this is a phenomenal team. The only thing that I would say is if you wanted to sit on your hands, wait until you got Jonathan Taylor back in. And then once we end up having JT, Gibbs, Bijan, and Ramondre all good to go, then at that point, taking someone like Ramondre and Michael Thomas, trading for an elite wide receiver in the Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown will be playing this weekend, or A.J. Brown range. I think that'd make a lot of sense. Phenomenal team. Congrats on being 2-0, and congrats on a great trade, my man. Now, Tyler says, Pittman or Josh Reynolds. We're definitely going to go Michael Pittman. Like we said, Amon-Ra St. Brown should be good to go this weekend. Now, our next question coming out from Carlos says, 12-team full BBR, 2 wide receivers in a flex. We have Allen, Diggs, Godwin, Javonte, Brian Robinson, Andrews, Hopkins. On the bench, we have Khalil Herbert, JSN, Breida, Quentin Johnson, JT on the IR. What moves do I need to make to get a heavy hitter? Your stream streak is incredible. Thank you. My man. I mean, here I think that you have a great team as is. Love the Allen Diggs stack. I will say, typically, if you're going to be playing in a league where you only have one flex, we are highly incentivized to go out there and see if we can make a trade to get an elite level player in the starting lineup while selling the depth that we have on this team. But let's fundamentally ask ourselves, what player do we have either in the flex or on the bench will people be excited to trade for at this moment? Are people excited to trade for DeAndre Hopkins? No, they're not. Are they excited to go out there and trade for Khalil Herbert? No, they're not. They're not trading for Matt Breida. They're not trading for Quentin Johnston. They're not trading for JT. So in reality, I'm very sorry to say this, my man, I don't necessarily see a natural trade for this team to make as we sit right now. Now, with this being said, if we end up getting Jonathan Taylor back in, and then that makes a player like Brian Robinson maybe expendable, and then at that point, if you want to go through and take maybe Brian Robinson and DeAndre Hopkins, trade them to get an elite level wide receiver for the flex, you can go ahead and you can look to make that move. But this is what we saw with the first team as well, right? I mean, you can see a lot of these trades being advantageous, but that's once we get JT in the starting lineup and we feel much better about our overall depth. But now let's go over to our next question coming out from Lug. Says 10-team full BBR where we have Brian Robinson, Javonte Kelly, or Zach Moss for my RB2. I'm running Jacobs at RB1. So I actually really like a couple of these players. Now that you have no Austin Eckler, I'm going to be telling a ton of people to go out there and play Joshua Kelly. Now, full transparency, I told a lot of people to play Joshua Kelly last week. And I mean, I wish I didn't because Kelly did absolutely nothing. But fundamentally, at the end of the day, with Joshua Kelly, this is a running back that did see pretty much every touch out of his backfield. He did see pretty much every snap in his backfield as well. It was pretty much just a very tough matchup going up against the Tennessee Titans. So even if it burned me, I would actually go back to the well with Joshua Kelly again in this week because he has the workload in an elite level offense. And Zach Moss has a tough matchup as a 6.5-point dog going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Brian Robinson has a tough matchup as a 7-point dog going up against the Buffalo Bills. Now, with that being said, if you wanted to pivot off of Josh Kelly, you could go start Brian Robinson. You could go start Zach Moss. I think the majority of people in this live stream that are a lot smarter than I am, I'll tell you that right now, they would probably say, don't go with the running back that just gave you a complete dud last week. But because I'm not smart, I am not going to learn my lesson. I'm going to go right back to the well with Joshua Jacobs here, my man. But IB Russ, longtime member of the flock, coming out, says 10-team BBR double flex, Chubb owner, where we have Lawrence Stevenson, Algier, Pirine, Edwards, Hubbard, Diggs, Ridley, Evans, Lockett, Addison, Burks, Hawkinson. Should we trade Diggs and Addison for Amon-Ra St. Brown and Javonte Williams and any other trade targets? Full BBR double flex. Typically, we are going to say that you can actually bump up the value of these depth wide receivers and don't necessarily have to be doing anything you can to sell wide receiver twos for some running back production. So specifically in a league that has double flex spots, I'm completely fine with us going through and keeping Jordan Addison here if we really wanted to. Now, with that being said, obviously this team currently, if we have Tyler Algier and Samaje Perine as our RB2, RB3, it would be advantageous for us to go through and get a long-term upgrade at running back if we can. Now, honestly, I don't think that this is enough value. I know that maybe we're just getting a little picky here. Maybe we should take what we can get. But fundamentally, at the end of the day, Diggs, in my mind, is in a completely different tier than what you have with Amon-Ra St. Brown. And if you are looking at Javonte, I may not even start Javonte with this team this week. I think you go through and play Gus Edwards with no Justice Hill. So I would say this is a trade that maybe we can make a few weeks from now if we really need to still then. But let's keep the depth wide receiver on a double flex league for now. Let's see what Gus Edwards gives us with no Justice Hill, because I think Gus Edwards can solve this position for us in the short term, and we can hold on to the long-term upside for now and maybe wait for Amon-Ra St. Brown to get fully healthy. Now, Chad says, I dropped the first like today. Dynasty 10-team PBR. Traded Garrett Wilson, Olave. You better have gotten a lot in return. Damian Pearson, a third for Bijan, Godwin, and a second. So Dynasty League, I am still all in on Garrett Wilson, still all in on Chris Olave in the long term. Love both those wide receivers. Now, with that being said, Bijan Robinson, you can make an argument that he is only behind Justin Jefferson in Dynasty value in a one quarterback Dynasty League. Bijan is a very nice return. Godwin in a second versus Pierce in a third. You probably go Godwin in a second at this point. I think it is a very fair deal. If it was a dynasty league where maybe you start 11, 12 guys, I probably opt to go with the wide receivers. If it's a 10-team dynasty league where maybe you're only starting, say, 8 or 9, we probably go Bijan. Noah says traded Nico for Walker. Oh my gosh, great deal. A great deal, my man. You'll love to see it. Ross says start Najee, Moss, or Isaiah Pacheco. We're going to go Zach Moss as a running back, getting every snap out of his backfield, my friend. Vader says trade Bijan, Sanders, Ridley, Moss for Eckler, Barkley, Higgins in a non-PPR 10-team league. Ridley to Higgins, let's call it a slight downgrade. Or we can call it a lateral move. Regardless, they're about the same. Bijan, Sanders, Moss for Eckler, Barkley. There is just inherently no reason to go out there and trade for these injured running backs if we're giving up the best player in the deal in Bijan Robinson, unless we are getting a significant discount to do so. So I would say that maybe if you were sending Bijan, Sanders, Ridley, Moss for those 3 guys, then sure. Maybe if you were sending, say, Bijan, Moss, and Ridley, or just sending 3 of the 4 on that first side, we could consider it. But as it stands right now, you'd be paying way too much, especially if Eckler's worth less in a non-PPR format. Now, Zach Moore coming out says, would you trade away Mahomes for Tua and Pacheco? Hell no, my man. My current running backs are Gibbs and Swift. We're not starting Pacheco there. Odell Higbee is my best flex option currently. So I understand if Odell/Higbee are your best flex options to go out there, sell Mahomes, see if we can get some long-term value. You just frankly need more than this, my man. Isaiah Pacheco currently is on a team that doesn't run the ball, and he's in a 3-man RB by committee. Now, John says 8-team full PPR traded Addison and Moss for Calvin Ridley. I mean, 8-team league where we don't care about the depth, phenomenal move. Devin says, would you trade Lamar for Tua and Sanders? I have Eckler and Barkley. If you were telling me that you have no RB fill-in, I think it is an okay deal if you need the running back production right now. In a vacuum, I still would rather have Lamar Jackson in a 4-point passing touchdown format over Tua and Miles Sanders. But under the assumption that you had nobody to start at running back and we needed a win this week, I think it makes sense. Now, Curran says 12-team league where we have Hurts, Walker, Gibbs, Jefferson, Debo, Ingram, Nico, and then on the bench we have Watson, Gabe, Jamal, MVS, Hunt, Goff, Hubbard, and Kendrick Bourne. We were offered DeAndre Swift and Garrett Wilson for Jahmyr Gibbs and Nico Collins. Do I counter and try to get Hawk? Keep it up, bro. No, thank you so much, my man. I would rather have Gibbs over DeAndre Swift, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think we would prefer to have Garrett Wilson over Nico Collins still, but I mean, they are going to be somewhat close. If you could say get DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson, then yes, that's the deal that we look to make. But I do think you're getting the downgrade there if you're going to be sending Gibbs and Nico for Swift and Wilson. I'm just all in on Jahmyr Gibbs in a full PPR format at this point. Now, Cody coming out says 12-team PPR league, 1 flex. We're 1-1. We traded away Gibbs, Mike Williams, Josh Reynolds for A.J. Brown. Was this a good move? Reynolds, no value for me. We traded away Gibbs, Mike Williams for A.J. Brown. If this is a 1 flex league where we're going to start 2 wide receivers, I'm okay with it. We have Lawrence, Pollard, Etienne. Okay, yeah, and if we had running back depth here, the only thing that matters at this point is getting the true elite level option in the starting lineup. That is A.J. Brown. So specifically in this format with this team, I do like it, my man. Ethan says, Barkley out. We need 1. Kelly, Hall, Swift, or Moss. I personally want to go right back to the well with Joshua Kelly. If you look at our flex rankings this week, I have Joshua Kelly at 31, DeAndre Swift at 34. It's hard for me to get off of Kelly with no Austin Eckler. He got every snap. He got every touch. It's an elite level offense. If you wanted to go ahead and take DeAndre Swift, you could do that, my friend. Now, Zayreek says, sup, my man? So I have Bijan locked and loaded, but we need another running back in a flex. We're sitting with Brees, Swift, Joshua Kelly, Mike Williams, and Drake London. Williams gets the bump considering the fact that you have no Austin Eckler, but we still probably end up taking the starting running backs. We go most likely with Kelly and DeAndre Swift. The backup option would be Mike Williams if you really didn't want to start one of those guys. Just please, under no circumstance, do not start Brees. Do not start Drake London here. Now, Joey coming out says, hey, Mason, we have Aaron Jones, Mixon, A.J. Brown, Puka, Christian Watson, Hopkins, Miles Sanders, JT, and Cooper Kupp and Gabe Davis. Would you trade Watson and Hopkins for Justin Fields, Flowers, and Garrett Wilson? Going from Deshaun Watson this is Christian Watson. Going from Christian Watson to Zay Flowers is going to be a downgrade. Going from Hopkins to Garrett Wilson is a lateral move. Both are great receivers with horrible quarterback play. Getting Justin Fields, where currently I don't see a quarterback that we have to start. I'm completely fine if you wanted to go out there and make this move, especially with the injury that you have to DeAndre Hopkins. And yeah, I think that Fields, while y'all know I've been a Fields hater for quite some time, is still a bad NFL quarterback. I think he can still be okay in fantasy based off his rushing upside. But Colin says the need to start one in a full PPR league. We have Lockett, Kelly, and Michael Thomas. I personally am going to go Joshua Kelly. I know I'm stupid. I 100% agree with you. I don't know what I'm talking about. But if I get the ability to start a starting running back in a great NFL offense that's going to get the majority of the touches in his backfield, I want to do just that. So even though Joshua Kelly let us down last week, I'm going to make the excuse that the Titans were a really tough run defense to go up against. And I'm probably going to go ahead, going to take Joshua Kelly here, my friend. Steve says, yo, how PPR format, struggling who to play at RB2 in the flex. We have Sanders, Ford, Eckler, Algier, Waddle, and Atwell for the potential flex. We have Williams, Lamb, Samuel starting for RB1, wide receiver 1, and wide receiver 2. So we're in a very comfortable position here with Deebo Samuel blowing up on Thursday night, giving us an early lead. Now, obviously, if Jalen Waddle is good to go, Waddle will be our flex, but as of now, we don't know if that will be the case. We have to play Miles Sanders there at RB. Flex, we're going to go plan A, Jalen Waddle. Plan B, probably, God. Oh my gosh. Plan B, maybe Jerome Ford. I don't want to tell too many people to play Jerome Ford, though, because you do have Austin Eckler good to go this week. And I do think that Jerome Ford and Eckler split the backfield. Now, of course, I don't know exactly what that split's like. I don't know if it's 60-40 in favor of Hunt, 60-40 in favor of Ford. I would imagine and I would assume, since Jerome Ford was with this team for training camp through the first few weeks, that Jerome Ford will be the guy with the larger role in the short term. It is a horrible matchup, though. Drew says, hey, Mason, we have Josh Allen at quarterback. Running back, we have CMC, Ramondre, Kyron, Mostert, Hunt. We have Kupp, Amari, London, Watson, Judy, tight ends, Laporta, or Njoku. Trying to figure out who to trade for a better wide receiver since my running backs are stacked. So I see a lot of teams that are in this scenario, right? Where you have 4 to 5 running backs that you think you can start. If this is the situation that you are in, the running backs that we are inherently looking to sell, we are looking to sell those guys that have a limited shelf life. I hate to say it, but if you are looking at someone like, say, Raheem Mostert, I think he may have a limited shelf life in terms of his availability in putting him in your starting lineup. I'm not coming out here and saying, oh, he always gets hurt, he's eventually going to go down, sell him. No, I'm not saying that at all. But more so, we're saying, okay, well, Jeff Wilson Jr. right now is on the IR, which does mean that he is a pretty appealing option where we can start Mostert every single week when he's the only RB in this backfield. And if we could potentially go out of our way and package together, say, Mostert and Drake London, or Mostert and, honestly, I kind of like the other wide receivers. Mostert and Amari. I mean, I really like these guys, my man. I don't necessarily think we need to make this move, but if you could send both those players and in return, get back a wide receiver a tier above, go get back someone like Chris Olave, I think that would make sense because it doesn't hurt us in the long term. It doesn't really impact our ability to field the starting lineup in the short term either if he's already going to be on our bench. So that would be something that I'm looking at, my friend. A great team, though. Baby Genius says, Dynasty Start 11 contender. Send Ridley, Pickett, Mostert, Tank Dell for Dak, London, Puka. Could we give up more? So going from Ridley to Puka will be a downgrade from a contending perspective. Pickett to Dak will be an upgrade. Tank Dell, who the hell cares? I'd rather have London over Mostert, Tank Dell easily. If this is a super flex league, 100% we're going to go ahead and do this. If it is a one quarterback format, I think that it is up to you. Now, Logan coming out says 10-team PPR where we have Lamar, Madison, Connor, Adams, Chase, Waddle, Amari, Waller. Do we trade a running back or stick with the receivers? Thanks, though. Thank you, my friend. I honestly think that we probably need to be trading for a running back in the long term. I don't necessarily know if this is something we do this week, though. It's probably something that we do next week. The reason being is you're in a situation where, as of now, I mean, you can actually start Alexander Madison with no Cam Akers playing this weekend. And we probably want to be starting all these wide receivers, or at least have them on our team, just in case you end up getting no Jalen Waddle this week. So if you have no Waddle this week, probably want to hold on to the receivers. It's going to be a move that we're looking to make going into week 4, my friend. But our next question coming out from Marco says 12-team full PPR where we have Fields, Richardson, Goff, Bijan, Etienne, Kamara, Amon-Ra, Amari, Pickens, Addison, Pitts. Trade ideas, or do we sit tight? We are 1-1. I think we sit tight at quarterback. I mean, if this is a league where you only start one, I would even be fine going through and cutting someone like Jared Goff. I really don't want to roster 3 QBs. I understand the thought process saying, well, Mason, come on, Anthony Richardson's out this week. I don't want to start Fields. I really need to start Goff. If you really think you need to start Goff with an injured Amon-Ra St. Brown, no Jamison Williams, just not in a good spot overall when you have Justin Fields on the same team ready to go in a game that he's going to have to throw the ball a ton, I'd say, why the hell do we have Justin Fields still on this team? So I'd cut Goff, start Fields this week. Look long-term between Fields, Richardson based off matchup. Running back, we are elite, especially when we get Kamara back. Wide receiver, we're in a great spot. I mean, I actually like Pitts coming into this season, but based off of what we have seen so far, I wouldn't fault you at all if you wanted to go through and if you wanted to maybe take a player like Kyle Pitts and a running back once we get Kamara back and see if we can go get an elite level tight ends. Obviously, it depends on us actually getting Kamara back this next week, which I think will happen. Now, that boy OD coming out says, traded James Cook Pickens for A.J. Brown. Is this flock approved? Hell yes, my man. Really do like the deal. And Pickens was a buy low guy for us last week. Scarface Patrick says, trade Allen for Olave. You're the GOAT. Appreciate you, my man. I actually have Keenan Allen ranked ahead of Olave for this week, but that's because you have no Austin Eckler here. Long term, when Eckler does come back, I would definitely rather have Olave. Let's go Olave here. Ethan says trade Fields, Swift, Montgomery for Jalen Hurts and Dameon Pierce. Yes, I would rather have Jalen Hurts here, my friend. GoPro Dude says 10-team PPR1 flex where we have Hurts, Hawkinson, Kyron, Mixon, Cup, Lamb, Flowers, Dotson, Judy. 3 trades, Hawkinson, Kyron, Dotson for Bijan, Pitts, Addison. So going from, say, the best player in one deal, Hawkinson, to Bijan, massive improvement. And then, honestly, I would send Hawkinson, Kyron, Dotson for Bijan straight up. The fact that we're getting Pitts and Addison is laughable. Then Zay Flowers, Cal Pitts for Waller, Christian Watson. I'd rather have Waller, Christian Watson. Then Cup, Mixon, Addison, Waller for A.J. Brown, Waddle, Dallas Goedert, and Javonte Williams. Cup, AJ, up to you in your situation. Mixon, Javonte, give me Mixon. Addison, Waddle, give me Waddle. Waller, Goddard, give me Waller. Third trade, fair, up to you. I would, if we are going to be able to make a deal, we send Hawkinson, Kyron Williams, Dotson for Bijan, Pitts, Addison in a second, if that's a possibility. Now, Jordan says start 1, Cortland Sutton, Jonathan Mingo, or Hollywood Brown. We're going to go ahead and we will take Hollywood Brown. Maybe it's a little bit of a better spot with no Trayvon Diggs this week. But ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 like away from hitting 200 likes on this live stream. Please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this stream. Help us get to 200. We are trying to do everything we can to hit 200,000 subscribers this season. We've streamed for 147 days in a row. And also, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, find it in the description, find it in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK will get you a 100% deposit match up to $500 on a new account, plus a Lamar Jackson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard against the Indianapolis Colts. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, we are sending out a ton of Flock Fantasy ads for people who use promo code FLOCK on Underdog. So make sure you fill out that link for the Google form in the Discord if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog and you want a Flock Fantasy hat. But Sean says, 10-team at PBR, tough opponent. Jefferson and Cousins. We need the highest ceiling. Pick 3, Olave, Smith, Pickens, Lockett, Madison, Brian Robinson. Love the channel. Really appreciate you, my man. Olave, Smith, they're locked in every week. You don't even really think about it. Really down between Pickens, Lockett, Madison, Brian Robinson. I wouldn't have said this earlier on, but I think that honestly, Alexander Madison does look like someone you can start this week, knowing it's going to be a really high-scoring game, while at the same time, now you don't have Cam Akers playing in this game. But if it's a league where we're shooting for upside, we'd probably go ahead and play Brian Robinson, who's been just straight up crushing it. Now, with that being said, very tough matchup against the Bills. Very, very tough spot. Now, our next question coming out from Ron Sand says, which trio are these guys for the last 3 flexes? We have Zach Moss, Tutu, Joshua Kelly, Jerry Jeudy, Christian Watson, Robert Woods, and Josh Reynolds. Really appreciate you, my man. And honestly, easy call for us here. Zach Moss, Kelly. Let's get the starting running backs that have every single look. And then honestly, we're probably going to be going ahead and playing Jerry Jeudy as well. Jerry Jeudy didn't play all the snaps this past week, but should be in a better situation now that he is fully healthy. Nabil says trade Mike Evans for Christian Watson. Honestly, I would say that you could get more value for Mike Evans. If you look at the underdog pick'em that they have right now with Mike Evans, it kind of shows that, yeah, you can't really expect Evans to be an elite level option every single week, especially if you're looking at the fact that, I mean, this is someone that's living off of efficiency rather than volume. It is going to come back down to earth. They only have him at 53.5 receiving yards. But still at the same time, I mean, seeing the other trades that you have with Mike Evans and Christian Watson in this live stream, I'll tell you right now, Evans is a lot more value. Now, our next question coming out from Chris says, 12-team PPR where we have Purdy, Geno, AJ, Devontae Adams, Puka, Ayuk. Running back, we have Walker, Moss, Swift, Hall, JT. Tight end, we have Kelsey, Laporta. Any suggestions, thoughts, or trade ideas? So when we have Travis Kelsey, I mean, one of the reasons we love having the elite level quarterback is we don't have to roster a backup tight end. So if we could take maybe a player like Sam Laporta, send them with Breece Hall, and go get a long-term upgrade at running back, I would really like that. Or if you wanted to send Sam Laporta with maybe Brock Purdy and go get a quarterback that we liked with a little bit of a higher ceiling, maybe someone that actually has some rushing upside, I think that would be appealing as well. But overall, I do think this is a very, very strong team here, my man, where really the only thing is possibly trying to get that quarterback upgrade if we can. Now, Jordan says 14-team PBR format where we have Lamb, Devonta Smith, Kenneth Walker, James Cook, Mike Evans, Jerome Ford, Lawrence, Hawkinson, Sky, Kareem Hunt, Judy. Got offered Ridley for Evans and for Ford. 14-team format. I know this is crazy. I may actually lean with the package. I am completely fine with going through and selling high on Jerome Ford if someone thinks that he's going to be the full-blown starter in Cleveland and they don't think that he's going to split. I think fundamentally he splits this backfield with Kareem Hunt. But I would probably look to actually keep the package, knowing how hard running backs are to come by right now in a 14-team league. I think we probably sit on our hands, specifically because this is that 14-team format. Now, Doctor says 12-team non-PPR traded Breece for DK, then did A.J. Brown and DK for Pollard and Sutton. So he traded essentially Breece, A.J. Brown for Tony Pollard and Courtland Sutton. The team is Hurts, Bijan, Pollard, Gus, Mike Williams, Godwin. What are your thoughts? Full PPR format, I would hate it. Non-PPR format, I'm okay with it because we are highly incentivized to go out there and pay for the elite level running back in a non-PPR league. Now, El Nano says Stafford or Deshaun Watson. We will go Deshaun Watson. He has some rushing upside, even if he just does not look good. And then Condre Miller or DeAndre Swift, we're definitely going to go Swift, and Ferguson or Pitts. If you wanted to go Ferguson, I'm not going to fault you whatsoever. Because I'm an idiot, I will go through and I'll still probably go Pitts. Now, Sawyer says 14-team full PPR format where we have Mahomes, Pacheco, Gibbs, Wilson, DJ Moore, London, Dotson. And then on the bench, we have Sky, Tony, Tank Dell, Purdy, Mechie, McKinnon. Any trades I should do? League is stingy with trades. So 14-team format, I'm fine rostering a backup quarterback even if we have Mahomes. Because if most people do, it's going to be impossible to go to the waiver wire if we ever need to. I would say if your league's stingy with trades, I don't want to run through some trades that you can do because it's probably going to be much easier said than done. But some actionable advice that I think we could actually look at real close is this is a league where we're rostering Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, Jahan Dotson, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Tank Dell, John Mechie. We're rostering 7 wide receivers. Whereas at running back, we have Pacheco, Gibbs, and Jerick McKinnon. Fundamentally, some of these wide receivers down there, like John Mechie, that just really don't have the upside to move the needle for you. I think we would much prefer to instead go through and see if we can prioritize some high upside running backs down there on the waiver wire and try to find the next, like Kyron Williams, right? I think that's what we're trying to do if, our league is stingy with trades. Now, Gunner says, pick a receiver, running back, in a flex in a full PBR format where we have Higgins, Kelly, Swift, Gainwell, Evans, AJ Dillon, Jacoby Myers, Kyron Williams. Thanks, man. No, thank you, my dude. I think running back, we are going to go ahead and it's going to be close between Joshua Kelly and Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams obviously getting every single touch in his backfield as well. He's been the better player. I'm an idiot, so I'd probably go Joshua Kelly just because he's in a much better offense and he's going to be the highest scoring game of the week this week. So I'd probably go Joshua Kelly at running back. Wide receiver, I think we're going to be going with T. Higgins if Burrow looks like he's going to go. Actually, no, let's not even risk it. Let's just go ahead and let's just play Mike Evans. And then for the flex, I think we're going to stick with the running back getting every single touch. We will go Kyron Williams, my friend. Stealthy says, should I trade T and Kyron Williams for Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown? I think I would. Swift, Kyron Williams, Kyron, but it's probably really close, honestly, kind of up to you. And I for sure want Amon-Ra St. Brown over Higgins. Phil says, hey, Mason, just got offered Josh Jacobs and DJ Moore for CeeDee Lamb. We're definitely going to take CeeDee Lamb here. My running backs are bad right now. We lost Montgomery and Dobbins. The issue is with DJ Moore, I don't even know if this is a player that we can start at the wide receiver position. So really, if we can't start DJ Moore, we're essentially just sending, say, CeeDee Lamb for Josh Jacobs. Do I want to be in a situation where I'm sitting CeeDee Lamb for Jacobs? Probably not. I don't know. I love Lamb. I think you can get a better price. James says, injury problems, Roshan, Gainwell, or Kondre Miller. We will go Miller. I think he's the only running back that has a chance of, I don't want to say that. If Roshan has a chance of leading his backfield this week, but obviously the Bears offense is bad. I think we go Miller, though. Now, Chase says, 12-team PBR, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, 2-0, trade proposal. Etienne, JT, Waddle for Bijan, DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson. Going from DJ Moore to Waddle, massive upgrade. Garrett Wilson to Jonathan Taylor, massive upgrade. Bijan to Etienne, pretty big downgrade. My team is Richardson, Sanders, Waddle, A.J. Brown, Hawkinson, Kelly, Deshaun Watson, JSN, Dotson, Hubbard, and Cam Akers. I think as it stands now, we're probably going to be sitting with the Bijan Robinson trade. If you wanted to make this deal in 2 weeks, when Waddle and Jonathan Taylor were both fully healthy and good to go, then sure we can. I think that we are just taking on all the risk and not getting enough upside in return. And if you wanted to make this deal, I think you at least look to keep one of those wide receivers. It does seem like a somewhat close deal. Okay. Now, Nabil says trade Etienne and Mike Evans for Jamar Chase. We have Bijan, Kamara, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Etienne and Evans for Chase. If we have these running backs, I'm completely fine making this deal. I'm going to go through and I'm going to be betting on the Jamar Chase bounce back. Robert says 10-team PPR format where we have Lamar, Devontae Adams, Puka, CMC, Mixon, Andrews. And then on the bench, we have Judy, Hopkins, Nico, Mostert, Laporta, Kamara, and Kyler Murray. What are your thoughts? First thing is, if Kyler Murray's on our bench and not on our IR, I don't know what's the case here, we go ahead and we look to cut Kyler Murray. Now, of course, if Kyler Murray is on our IR, then we're chilling. No harm, no foul. But overall, great team. I think we go through and we look to start Raheem Mostert in that flex spot. And because we can start him right now, I actually don't think we need to go through and make any moves. The only thing that I would say, if you really wanted to go ahead and see if we can get an elite wide receiver for Puka, if you wanted to see if you can get A.J. Brown, if you wanted to see if you can get Jalen Waddle, see if you can get Calvin Ridley, it can't hurt to send that out there and see what happens. Now, Hayden says, can you rate this 12-team league? We have Allen, Tyreek, Adams, Amon-Ra, Zay Flowers, Zach Moss, Kyron Williams. Tight end, we have Ertz and Kincaid. Only need one running back starter. Thoughts and opinions, please. If we only need one running back starter, this is a beautiful team. This is exactly how I would want to construct my team in that format in particular. Elite quarterback loaded with wide receivers. Churn through these running backs that have roles in the short term. And I love this if it's a league where we're going to start one RB, my friend. Now, Peter says Nico Collins or Zay Flowers. We're going to go ahead. We will take Nico Collins this week, Zay Flowers long-term. Smallsy says, I need a flex in a PPR format. Godwin, Judy, Hall, or Jacoby Myers. Godwin and Judy are in their own tier here. Probably going to go ahead and take Chris Godwin this week, even though I do think that Jared Judy has his breakout. Now, Rojo says, 10-team BBR, we need a second flex between Garrett, Connor, Kirk, Myers. Also, we're going to go Laporta or Hunter Henry. Thanks. So thank you, my man. I think we will go Henry as long as the weather is fine. And then for the second flex spot, we're going to go James Conner, even in a super tough matchup against the Cowboys, where I believe they are 12.5 points dogs. Now, Vader says we're 0-2 with Hurts, Sanders, Javonte, Jefferson, AJ Kittle, Amari, Brees, Akers, London, JSN, Charbonnet, Gainwell, Ford. Any moves to make? Okay. 0-2, it's about time to start selling off this long-term production for short-term value. If you could potentially take two players that I really like, right? JSN, a ton of long-term upside. Javonte Williams, a ton of long-term upside. Like these guys that I would actually kind of consider buy low candidates. If you could take them and potentially send them off and get a running back or get a wide receiver that we're pumped about for the flex, I think that would make sense in a situation where we are struggling to win games right now, and that should be our number one priority. And of course, you know what I would say. I mean, if we can't sell Brees Hall, we do it. I just assume at this point it's a little bit too late. I don't want to keep telling people to sell Brees Hall now this week. When, I mean, we heard someone earlier in the week say they got him off the waiver wire. I don't know what value he actually has. Now, Joe says 18 Matt BBR 1 flex. Should we start T. Higgins, Kyron Williams, or swap them with Brian Robinson, Brees Hall, Mike Williams? I'm completely fine if you wanted to go Higgins, Kyron. If you were going to swap, you would go ahead and you would play Brian Robinson over Kyron. That's what you would do. I would go Kyron Williams in a very tough matchup for Brian Robinson. I'm just saying if you wanted to swap. Under no circumstance can you start Brees Hall this week. Nobody. Please do not start Brees. Now, your boy says Hurts, Debo, Puka, Henry, Jacobs, Henry, Swift. And then on the bench, we have Madison, Njoku, Williams, Hopkins, Zay, Bourne. Any changes or trades? I'm 0-2. 0-2 roster. We are prioritizing production in the short term over the long term. I would say there are no natural trades to make. I mean, Madison maybe would be intriguing to get in the starting lineup now that Cam Akers won't be active this week. But honestly, we probably keep this as is. I think, honestly, probably going to win this week as well if you just look at the fact that, I mean, you're already off to a super hot start with what we got from Deebo Samuel. Now, Ken coming out says, traded away Raheem Mostert and we received Calvin Ridley. Beautiful. But now I'm super thin at running back. Was already thin at running back before this. Was comfortable with my wide receivers. Was it a good deal? I don't care what our team need is. I don't care what situation we are in. If you can sell someone like Raheem Mostert that is producing now and in a phenomenal situation now, but fundamentally we can't guarantee that will be in the case 2 weeks when Jeff Wilson comes back. I think that is a great move. Way to go get Calvin Ridley, my man. Jonathan says, Puka Cup owner, who do you think we could get for Puka? I've seen a lot of people go out there and trade Puka for like A.J. Brown, for Calvin Ridley, for Devonta Smith, for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Obviously, it's going to be very dependent on the league that you're in, but if we can ever go sell a waiver wire pickup for a round one talent like that, I would go through and do it, even if he is just absolutely crushing it. Now, Ollie says we need help starting the lineup in a double flex league with Fields, Bijan, Etienne, Amon-Ra, Puka, Zay, Judy, Sanders, Myers, Addison, Hopkins, Watson. Thanks. So thank you, my man. Double flex league. I mean, here we are going to be going Fields quarterback over Watson. Running back, we're going to go Bijan Etienne. Wide receiver, Amon-Ra Puka. Flex 1, we're most likely going to be going Miles Sanders. And flex 2, we're most likely going to be going with Jerry Jeudy. I understand a lot of people would want to play Zay Flowers over Jerry Jeudy. I completely understand why. Zay Flowers is a very exciting player. I think Jeudy just going to be in a very high-scoring game environment against the Miami Dolphins, where at the end of the day, yeah, he wasn't great this first week, but it was his first week back from the hamstring. JT says 10-team non-PBR. Would you trade Chase for Keenan and Pacheco? No, I definitely keep Keenan, Chase, even in a non-PBR format. We traded Watson and Olave for Chase. Yeah, if you trade Watson and Olave for Chase, then flip him for Keenan and Pacheco, that's a net loss, my man. Bijan Madison, my RB1 and RB2. We have CD with Kelsey and Lamar. Great team. For the love of God, do not go out there and trade away Jamar Chase for Keenan Allen and Isaiah Pacheco in a non-PPR format. I mean, you kind of don't want Isaiah Pacheco in a non-PPR league. You want Pacheco in a full PPR league. Now, Jaron says, loving these daily live streams, man. Appreciate you. Everyone go down there and drop a like. Yes, if you have not done so already, please listen to Jaron. Go down there, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we have live streamed every single day for 147 days in a row, not stopping until 2024. And of course, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems on Underdog Fantasy as well, you can find that link in the live chat, find it in the description, find it in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match up to $100. Up to $500 for new accounts. That's the new promo that they are running. Plus, you get a Lamar Jackson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard against the Colts this weekend. And we are giving away Flock Fantasy ads for people who use promo code FLOCK on Underdog. We've been shipping a ton out. We have a ton more to go. Just please make sure you fill out the Discord link. The Google form, so I can get that to you. But who are your top 3 flex starts in order between JSN, Curtis Samuel, Chuba Hubbard, Kendrick Bourne, Burks, Mooney, Reed, and Gainwell? Oh, this is a brutal spot, my man. I think we probably have to go. Definitely not Curtis Samuel. Definitely not Darnell Mooney. Definitely not Chuba Hubbard. Under the assumption it's a full PBR format, we're going to go Reed number 1 if you have no Watson, if you have no Jones. If they both play, then we probably go Burks number 1, assuming you have no Hopkins. If all of those guys play, we probably go JSN number 1. But those will probably be the 3 wide receivers regardless. Actually, let me see the target volume Kendrick Bourne got this week. He had 4 receptions. Actually, we probably have to sneak Kendrick Bourne in there as well, even if I don't want to. It's so gross there. We kind of have to. Now, Awesome Man says, PBR starters, we have CMC, Henry, A.J. Brown, Mike Williams, Kittle. The flex, we have Raheem Mostert. And then on the bench, we have Moss, Amari, Christian Watson, Miles Sanders, Javonte. Any lineup changes? If we were going to get someone in from the bench, it would be Zach Moss playing every snap. But we're not starting him over Lamb. We're not starting him over Henry. We're not starting him over Mostert. And yeah, I think wide receiver, the only thing you could do is if you really wanted to start Amari in a matchup where they're going to have to throw the ball against this Tennessee Titans defense over Mike Williams, you can. But now that you have no Eckler, you probably stick with Mike Williams. Julian says, start 3. We have Gus, Pacheco, Atwell, Joshua Kelly, Sky, and a 10-team PPR formats. Okay. We're going to go Joshua Kelly with no Eckler easily. We're going to go Gus with no Justice Hill easily. Between Pacheco, Atwell, and Sky Moore, considering it's a full PPR format, we go to Atwell, even if I don't love it. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Easy Eddie, longtime member of the flock, says, hey, Mason, 1-1, 12-team, double wide receiver, double flex league. Thoughts on the wide receiver room? We have Keenan, Puka, Dotson, JSN, Elijah Moore, Jaden Reed. I think Mims will catch fire rest of season. Should we cut any or Zach Charbonnet? If you wanted to move off of anybody here, the cut would be Jaden Reed. The thing is, Jaden Reed can't really, it's hard for him to have a path where his situation's so different next week that he is for sure a league winning player. Kenneth Walker goes down in 2 days. Zach Charbonnet is for sure a league-winning player. Christian McCaffrey goes down. Elijah Mitchell's for sure a league-winning player. So typically the last few spots on this roster, I'm more so going to be looking to see if we can go ahead and keep the elites level. The handcuff running backs at the very bottom end. And honestly, I wouldn't make a play for Mims. I think Mims is a talented wide receiver, but it's a very bad offense. Now Jerry Jeudy is 100% good to go. I know he had the big touchdown. Not the big reception this past week, but still, fundamentally, he's not getting volume in this offense. I would rather have the extra running back. Carlos says, would he trade Andrews, Brian Robinson, and Hopkins for Henry, Olave, Mixon? I mean, give me Olave over Andrews. Give me Mixon over Brian Robinson. DeAndre Hopkins, Hunter Henry. Who the hell cares? So, yes, let's go ahead and let's get Chris Olave and Joe Mixon here. The deep end says we have Lamar, Chase, Devonta, Gibbs, Kyron, Ingram, Olave. On the bench, we have Swift, Connor, Sanders, London, Collins, Ford. It's a 10-team full BBR1 flex. Any moves? We have so much depth where if you're telling me we are sitting Swift, James Conner, Miles Sanders, you need to go and you need to attack the Nick Chubb owner and you need to say, hey man, I will give you DeAndre Swift and I will give you Evan Ingram. Give me an elite level tight end. And you can do that with any of these bench running backs that we have. I mean, if you have the embarrassment of riches, there are so many teams that are desperate for a running back at this point that you can get a phenomenal value. Jesus says wide receiver 2 in the flex. Jeudy, Pickens, DJ Moore, Brandon Cooks. We're going to go Jeudy and Pickens. Not going to be too close for us either. At the buzzer coming out says, love the content. Thank you, my man. It's my first year in fantasy at BBR. My team is Lawrence, Henry, Jones, Adams, Amari, Kittle, Collins, Ford, Thomas, Jameson, Spears, AJ Dillon, Love. Teams 1-1. Any moves? Would be really nice if we could get a stack with Lawrence and consolidate and make that one big bet on that Jacksonville Jaguars offense. If you could take maybe say AJ Dillon and Amari Cooper and go get Calvin Ridley, Jordan Love and Amari Cooper, Jameson Williams and Amari, and make that move, I think that'd make a lot of sense. I mean, hell, these other guys like Nico Collins, Michael Thomas are also expendable. If you wanted to play there, I think you could go like Nico Collins and Aaron Jones to see if we could get to Travis Etienne. Essentially just double down on that Jags offense. And if they do turn out to be better than people expect this next season, we hit on multiple pieces in the same lineup. Now, Tony coming out says, Geno, Love, Bijan, Gibbs, Roshan, Olave, Dotson, Pittman, Hawkinson, Njoku, Sutton, Warren. We lost Chubb. Should we trade Hawkinson, Geno, Dotson for Puka, Christian Watson, Brian Robinson? Hawkinson to Puka, give me Hawkinson. Dotson for Christian Watson, give me Christian Watson. Geno versus Brian Robinson, give me Brian Robinson, especially knowing what we can flip Puka for. Like I said, I want to be on record. I would rather have Hawkinson over Puka. But on a Chubb team, it does make a lot of sense to go out here and make this move, even if we were to go and flip Puka for maybe a little bit more. Now, our next question coming out from Boo McDizzle says, Purdy, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Puka, Mostert, Javonte, TJ. On the bench, we have Kirk, McLaurin, Gus, Algier, Dalvin. Should we trade Garrett Wilson and Raheem Mostert for Josh Allen and Jacoby Myers? I personally would, if we are looking at a spot where we have this kind of depth. Brock Purdy as our starting quarterback as well. I know it seems like we're maybe overpaying, but I don't care. Let's overpay. Let's get out of the Jets offense. Let's go get Josh Allen. Luke says, hey, I got a trade and we need an opinion. I get Bijan and Karen Williams for Jacobs and Taylor to 12-team at BBR format. Very interesting spot where, I mean, Bijan Robinson, clearly the best player in this deal. Typically, that's going to be the side I'm going with. I will say you do have a lot of long-term upside with Taylor and Jacobs as well. If this is a 2-0 team, I'm going to be completely fine if you want to say, well, Mason, you know what? I'm really only thinking long-term. I want to go through. I want to keep Jonathan Taylor. I think his value is going to continue to rise. I wouldn't fault you if you wanted to do that. Now, with that being said, if it's like an 0-2 team where we need production right now, I would go ahead and I'd for sure get Bijan Robinson and Kyren Williams. AP says Bijan or Puka for total points by end of season. I'm hoping you're trolling me, my man. I'm hoping that you're trolling me. We are going to go ahead. We are going to get Bijan Robinson. Splash Don't Lose says trade Amon-Ra and Rachaad White for Jamar Chase. If we have the running back depth, I think we can do it. I will say a lot of people would say to go Chase, though. Jordan coming out with the pessimism. My man says, likely 0-3, 10-team PPR format. We have Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, brutal. Bijan, Kenneth Walker, Gibbs, Ford, Hunt, Algier, Diggs, Judy, Michael Thomas, Deontay, Ayuk, Waller. Feel like the DJ Waller stack will be better. They played San Francisco and Dallas to begin the season. Honestly, I think you should panic. Now, to be fair, I don't necessarily see any easy sell high candidates where we can go through and make some trade that's going to make it all better. And I mean, I was I think maybe the only person that was going out there and willing to take all the heat in the world by saying Darren Waller was overrated, by saying to sell Darren Waller coming into the season. But as that person that was coming out here and standing against Darren Waller this year, I will say, yeah, it's going to get better. They played Dallas. They played San Francisco, just like you mentioned. So, yeah, I mean, even if I wasn't a big Waller guy coming into the year, I actually think that you're in a completely fine spot to just go through and keep these guys and hope that it turns around, my man. Now, Goat Lucas coming out saying, should I trade Dameon Pierce and Quentin Johnston for Javonte Williams or Zach Moss for Javonte? I would do both deals, my man. I would do either or. I would probably prefer Zach Moss for Javonte, though, knowing Zach Moss maybe has a limited shelf life. But a Durham man coming out, thank you, my man. Always appreciate you saying, trade away Lockett and Tyreek for Bijan, Devonta Smith, Pittman, and Mike Williams. I don't know if I want both A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. What are your thoughts? We also have Allen, Kelsey, and Kyron Williams. So Lockett versus, say, Pittman, wash, take him out of the deal. Would I rather have Tyreek Hill or Bijan Robinson, Devonta Smith, and Mike Williams? I think you almost have to take the Bijan Robinson deal side because I do fundamentally view Bijan Robinson as that elite level player in fantasy. So, yeah, I mean, if we're pivoting from one elite level player to another and picking up an additional wide receiver one at the same time, I think it is a fair move to make to go get Bijan. Now, Khalil's coming out and says 0-2, 10-team, 1-flex league. We have Lawrence, Mixon, Gibbs, Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Ingram, Debo, London, Puka, Addison, Taylor, Robinson, Taylor, Ford, Hunt, Rashad. Any trade ideas or content? No, thank you so much, my man. If we were looking to do anything here, we have the elite receivers. We're kind of chilling. We have running backs that we can play right now as well. The only thing that I would say is if you wanted to take maybe one of these long-term options like Jordan Addison or like Jonathan Taylor and see if we could go through and package them together with a tight end in Evan Ingram and see if we can go get a true elite level tight ends. Like if you could go Evan Ingram and Jonathan Taylor in somehow, some way, I mean, throw in Addison, who the hell cares? If we can get to Kelsey, no brainer. Let's do it. And we do have a decent amount of running back depth here as well. Where, I mean, we would be fine even long-term if we were to make that Taylor trade. But typically, just we're looking to go through and trying to make that deal where we sell long-term value for short-term production on an 0-2 team. Tsunami says, hey, Mason, we traded Evans and Elijah Mitchell for A.J. Brown. Love that, my man. Great deal. Great deal. Carl says, your dedication to this is admirable. My man, no, thank you so much, my dude. I mean, this is my entire life. And for me, like, to think that if y'all don't know a little background about me, just because we're not super far on the back on donations, I'll say this. I started this for fun in college. I made maybe 800 videos, and I would do it every single day, multiple videos a day, getting maybe 50 to 100 views per video for years. I love doing it so damn much. And I never thought in a million years it could be a job. So the second that I realized, like, oh crap, this could actually be a job, what I've been doing nonstop for fun, I feel like I have to go through and I have to do the absolute best job I can to make sure I don't squander the opportunity. You know, I feel like, at least in my mind, it's a once in a lifetime type thing. So if that means live stream every single day for 200 days in a row to make sure that doesn't go away and we don't waste the opportunity, that's what it means. But Lando coming out says, Etienne, James Conner, Brian Robinson. Receivers are Jefferson, Devonta Smith, Godwin, London. Do we start Conner and Devonta Smith this week? or go Brian Robinson and Godwin or Kenyon Drake. Okay, so we're going to go with, oh my gosh, we're going to go Devonta Smith for damn sure. I don't know exactly what we're asking. I mean, if we're going to be looking at James Conner versus Brian Robinson, neither running back has a good matchup. You have Brian Robinson going up against Buffalo. You have James Conner going up against Dallas. I probably would go Brian Robinson where there's 6.5-point dogs, whereas, I mean, the matchup against Dallas, you actually have James Conner as, I believe, a 12.5-point dog. So I'd go Brian Robinson over Conner. Now, Ramon says, 10-team full BBR. My running backs are Bijan, Kyron, Brian Robinson, Rachaad White, James Conner. My receivers are Amon-Ra, Ridley, Olave, JSN, Watson, JSN, Cooks. Friend offering Nico for Conner and JSN. Do we do it? Hell no, my man. I think that JSN, I would rather have JSN long-term over Nico Collins. And I'd rather have Conner with how the running back position is right now as well. Hell no, we do not do that. Now, Easy Eddie says, Mason is the GOAT. 5 years, the best advice. No, thank you so much, my man. Yes, you all don't know, Easy Eddie has been with us forever now. And it is, this is really 5 years. How long have we been doing this, my man? Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Ty says, 12-team dynasty. We traded Higbee, Kirk, Atwell, and Geno for Chase. Beautiful. Even in Superflex, you're going to look back at this, I mean, a year from now and laugh at the other owner. Great team. We have the Chase Burrow stack. Team set up for the long term. I wouldn't mind burning it down and looking for future picks and really dominate in 2024 when Burrow's fully healthy. Tyler says we gave White, Garrett Wilson, Ingram for Etienne, Ayuk, Goddard. The team is Hill, Ridley, Flowers, Ramadre, Kyron Williams. What are your thoughts? Okay. White to Etienne upgrade. Wilson to Ayuk upgrade. Ingram to Goddard. Lateral move, slight downgrade. We are already elite at wide receiver. I think this makes a lot of sense. Let's go out there and let's go get Travis Etienne, my man. And yeah, Tyler's also been with us for quite some time. Appreciate you, my dude. Now, Boeing says 12-team map BBR format. We have Allen, Waddle, London, Michael Thomas, Addison, Jamal Dobbs, Walker, Brees, JT, Rachaad White, Travis Kelce. Should we trade Rachaad White for Ayuk or Rachaad White, Michael Thomas for Devonta Smith? I honestly don't think we're getting enough value either or. I would try to go for like the Amon-Ra St. Brown range. If I had to choose a deal here, I'd be going with the Devonta Smith one. But if we're selling Rachaad White, a running back that's getting involved as a pass catcher, a running back that's getting every single touch out of his backfield as well, I'd probably go White. But Oscar says, need help to choose a receiver if Waddle's out and a flex. Hall, Shaheed, Ford, Dotson, London. Full BBR, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Love your streams, and thanks to you, I got to trade for Gibbs. Hell yes, my man. Congrats. I think that we are going to go ahead, and we're most likely going to be starting London over Dotson at wide receiver. And then if we, and we would be doing that with the flex as well. And then say we have no Waddle and we have to choose 2 of these guys. I'd probably go London and Dotson if it's a full BBR format, which you say it is. Just given the fact that, I mean, you are dealing with a really tough matchup for Ford and Kareem Hunt's going to be active. Now, Associate says 10-team BBR where we have Hurts, Stevenson, Brian Robinson, Hill, Lamb, Hawkinson, Evans. And then on the bench, we have Javonte, Ayuk, Dotson, Gainwell, Dobbs, Warren, Reynolds. 1-1, any moves? Nothing right away. I mean, if Warren continues to expand his role and then we have some running back depth and we can, I don't even know then. Phenomenal team top to bottom. We have the elite quarterback. We have the elite tight end. We have great running backs, great receivers with depth all across the board. We're not rostering a backup QB, great roster construction, high upside players. I don't think we do anything. Daryl says, need to start one of these running backs. Have BBR format. Najee, Javonte, or Gus Edwards. Not sure if it matters, but my opponent has Warren in his lineup. Don't care about that. I honestly think if you would have asked me this early in the week, I would have said Javonte. But now we probably have to go Gus Edwards, just considering the fact that if you are looking at Edwards, with no Justice Hill, locked and loaded, you can get everything in this team. Literally everything. Now, EY says 1-1, 12-team PBR double flex, where we have Purdy, Bijan, Henry, Kyron, Dillon, Puka, Amari, Watson, Judy, Andrews. Should we trade Derrick Henry and AJ Dillon for Jamar Chase and Adam Thielen? So Dylan to Thielen will be a downgrade. If you could get a quarterback upgrade on top of it, then sure. But to be honest with you, I would say most people right now, especially with how the running back position is, would prefer having Derrick Henry over Jamar Chase. So if we're making a move like this, I think we need to be charging a higher premium, my man. I think we need to be charging a premium if we're going to do this. Corey says, 12-team PPR 1 flex. We're 2-0. We have Jordan Love, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Ramondre, Swift, Waller, Higgins. On the bench, we have Ertz, Pacheco, Nico, Anthony Richardson. Any suggestions? Really do like having Richardson here for the long term. If Waller keeps playing the way he has, I'm fine rostering 2 tight ends as well. We don't have any inherent sell-high wide receivers or running backs. Great team, my man. Great team. Really like the roster construction. I think Waller will be better going forward as well, considering the fact that, he will have better matchups than the Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers more times than not. But our next question coming out from Caddison says, 2-0 Dynasty, deeper starting lineup. We have Stafford, Henry, Kelly, McKinnon, Tyreek Smith, Puka, Everett. On the bench, we have Saquon, Charbonnet, Ayuk, Downs, Hyatt, Schultz, Rodgers, Kyler, JT Cup. Any trade or flex ideas? So for now, we are going to be starting, say, Henry, Kelly at running back. Wide receiver, we're starting Tyreek Smith, Puka. Flex, we're having to go, oh my gosh, it's disgusting. I think maybe you're forced to start Dalton Schultz here, as gross as it sounds. Specifically because this is a contending dynasty team. If you wanted to see if we could extract any value from those guys down there, like, say, Josh Downs, Jalen Hyatt, obviously would be selling them low. I know we're not going to get some crazy amount for these guys. But if we could sell these 2 players in a package and maybe get an upgrade somewhere in the starting lineup for right now, go get a viable flex player, I'm fine doing it, knowing that this is a contending team. We've started off 2-0. We should have some guys better in Cup and JT coming to help out as well. You're in a great spot outside of this 1 week with that flex. Now, Cole says 12-team full BBR format. We have Ford, Barkley, Mixon, Lockett, Sutton, Andrews, Etienne, Rashad White, Addison, Thomas, Tank Dell. Any moves we should make? We're 1-1. Hell, we have Mixon, Etienne, or Mixon, Rashad White. We have the running backs that we can start right now. We have the elite level tight end as well. I don't see who our quarterback is, and that's going to lead me to assume that we don't have a quarterback that we start a lot. We're not excited about starting him. So if you wanted to take a depth running back when we got Saquon Barkley back, if you wanted to go send Rashad White, see if you can get someone like Lamar Jackson from a team that lost Nick Chubb, I think that'd make a lot of sense. But we're going to be waiting until we actually get Barkley back and we have all the running back depth. For the starting lineup this week, start most likely Mixon and Etienne, Lockett and Michael Thomas, and then Rashad White in there at the flex. Now, Matthew says, receive Lamar Andrews, JT Kamara Evans. Oh, dear God. Give Tua. So Tua to Lamar upgrade. Waller to Andrews upgrade. Mostert to JT upgrade. Mixon to Kamara, lateral move, slight downgrade. Hollywood to Evans, massive upgrade. What? 1 day left to cancel. Oh, my 18 league. You go Lamar, Andrews, JT. Not even close here, my man. Chris says Laporta, Hall, and either Geno or Purdy for Jalen Hurts. Oh, we're definitely going to take Jalen Hurts there, my man. Now, MC Amber says London, Algier, Christian Watson, or DJ Moore in the flex. We have Fields at QB. I will go ahead. We'll play Christian Watson in a half PBR format, assuming he plays. Now, I will say I don't expect him to be at 100%. If we had some great option, I would look to avoid him if we could. But the thing is, fundamentally, we're not sitting here with like some great option that we're starting Christian Watson over. And I think our backup play would be DJ Moore if he wasn't good to go. Now, Jaron says, sorry didn't add in the last chat, but it's a 12-team full BBR. PS. Everyone watching, make sure you're subbed to the channel. Man, is a go. No, thank you again, my man. Let me see if I can go through and pull this back up. And if you don't tell me what it is. Oh, yeah, full BBR format, I assumed it is. Okay, so, yeah, just a heads up for people going forward. If you don't tell me what the format is, my base assumption is that it's a full PPR format. I come across way more full PPR leagues than non-PPR or half PPR leagues. So my base level assumption is that it is a full PPR format. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream, subscribe to the channel. If you play fantasy football, we're going to be streaming every single day until 2024. And of course, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems on Underdog Fantasy, you can find those in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, we get a new account, 100% deposit match up to $500. Plus, you're going to be getting a Lamar Jackson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard against the Colts this weekend. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, we are giving away Flock Fantasy hats for people who use promo code FLOCK on Underdog. We've shipped out a ton of these bad boys. Still have a ton to ship out. I even found more in the garage. And yeah, fill out the Google form if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog and you want a hat. But our next question coming out from nobody says start Swift or Warren. We're going to go Swift. And then flex Nico, Christian Kirk, or Jacoby Myers. We're going to go Nico Collins. Actually, no, Zay Jones is out. If you wanted to go with Christian Kirk, I'm not going to fault you at all. It's either Kirk or Collins, but they're damn close. Brandon says, what are your thoughts? Mahomes, Adams, London, Pickens, Laporta, James Cook, Stevenson, Pierce, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Sky, Miller, Warren, Spears, Lazard. I think this is a team that actually needs some help at wide receiver 2 in the long term. In the short term, we're going to be just fine whenever we have no Deontay Johnson, but we have George Pickens in here. So actually, I don't necessarily think that we make any moves here, my man. I mean, maybe long term, once we end up getting Deontay Johnson back in, then when we reevaluate where George Pickens' value currently stands. He was a buy low guy for us last week, though. I want to reiterate, I think that he's going to be great any week you have no Deontay. Now, Arnai says changes or trades. We have Herbert, Connor, Gainwell, Jefferson, Olave, Ridley, Godwin. Tight end, we have Henry. And then we have A-Chain, Dalvin, Roshan, London, Elijah, or Laporta. No, we're going to keep the starting lineup as is at wide receiver. I mean, if we were going to make any trades, I mean, we would want to go through and get a better running back. The issue is I don't necessarily see someone that's we're going to be able to get a ton of value for. So yeah, I think we keep the lineup as is and just continue to churn the bottom end of the bench to hopefully find a running back that we like a little bit more in the long term. Now, Lando says 12-team full BBR1 flex league. We have Lawrence, Eckler, Etienne, Lamb, Olave, Goddard, Amari. And then on the bench, we have Watson, Kelly, Warren, Bigsby, Mike Williams, Burks, Noah Fant. Any trade-ups or waiver wire moves? Thanks, man. Love the stream. So thank you so much, my man. I mean, if you wanted to go through and make any trades, I mean, it's a very well-balanced team. The only thing I'd say is if you wanted to go through... Actually, no, we can't. We have Eckler. Yeah, we need Joshua Kelly to play in for Eckler. So really the only guy that we have down there on the bench that is expendable for us in the short term would be Mike Williams, where in reality, I think that Mike Williams in his actual production is going to be more than the value that you could get for him through trade. So I would stand by that. I actually probably want to be holding on to Mike Williams here and not making a move. I think it's a great team. I don't change anything in the starting lineup outside of obviously putting Joshua Kelly in for Eckler. The Eagles says traded Breece and Swift for ETN. Win or loss? It's a lots. Obviously, last week we could have got a much better price, but I am okay with it. Odier says, is it bad to have a wide receiver and a running back on the same team? Not inherently. Theron says, I have Lamb, Puka, Amari, Watson, Eckler, Sanders. Can you give me some trade targets and what to look for them? I mean, typically it's going to be hard without seeing the guys that we have on the bench and how the roster gets constructed. If I was just going to give some surface like, oh, sell high, maybe buy lows. If you wanted to go through, if you wanted to send possibly like Puka and get back A.J. Brown, get back Devonta Smith, I think that could be something we look to do, my friend. Now, Rivoli says 10-team PBR starting 2 flex league, already starting Nico in 1 spot. Do we start Breece, Swift, Rashad, or Christian Watson if he plays? We are going to go ahead. We are going to take Rashad White, my man. And I would honestly, I don't think you have to do it, but I think I would consider playing DeAndre Swift over Nico Collins as well. I think I'd consider playing both running backs. Tim Tebow says start Zay or Garrett Wilson. Other wide receivers, Ridley. I'm going to go Garrett Wilson now. Zay's making an argument for the long term. Tyler says, in Pittman game, does weather matter? Yes, it does. And obviously, I mean, this is something that we're going to have to monitor going into Sunday. But we talk about this a lot. if you think about how many times the local weather forecast is wrong for you, where in the morning it says it's going to rain and then it never rains, or it says it's not going to rain and it does rain just for the town that you live in the morning of. Think about how the weather looks when you're trying to project 2 to 3 days out. It's kind of funny. I think most people realize, like, in their day-to-day lives, that the weatherman's wrong super often, especially if you're trying to figure out what's going to happen like 3 days from now. But then whenever we think fantasy football, we think, oh, okay, yeah, for sure, we know what the weather's going to be like in that game. So typically, I don't really begin to really consider weather until we get to Saturday night, Sunday morning. Obviously, if it's before the game and we see the weather looks gross, we take that into our consideration. Slick Nasty says, Jalen Hurts or Cousins, we're 0-2. We're definitely going to go Jalen Hurts here, my friend. I don't think Jalen Hurts is the reason we're 0-2. I think he's going to be just fine. Now, let's go ahead and let's pull these questions back up on another screen. Give me 1 second as I do this, ladies and gentlemen. And as I do this, please, if you have not done so already, drop a like on this live stream. I mean, we are 1 like away from hitting 500 likes. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And like we said, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems on Underdog Fantasy, promo code FLOCK, 100% of pods match up $200, plus our 2023 fantasy football rest of season rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, a Lamar Jackson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard against the Indianapolis Colts. But I believe our next question coming out from Pete Dia. I'm sorry that I possibly just butchered your name, my man. I know you've been with us for a very, very long time. So thank you. Really do appreciate you. And I am very sorry that I'm an idiot. But nonetheless, we'll be super excited to look at this. Let's go ahead and let's pull it up. You're saying traded Brian Robinson and Tyler Lockett for Jamar Chase. The team is Diggs, Lamb, Burrow, Stevenson, Kyron, Puka, Walker, Laporta, and depth RBs. Any suggestions? Phenomenal team. Honestly, I think from this point in a double flex league, we're not looking to make any moves. Now, with that being said, we really need Burrow to be good. Now that we have Burrow and Chase, we need to send a prayer up that Joe Burrow is going to be fine. Now, Long Rider says 10-team PBR flex into super flex. We have Burrow, DJ, Etienne, Walker, Javonte Charbonnet, Hill, Waddle, Puka, Thomas, Brown, JSN, JT, Kyler. We traded Hall and Pickens for Saquon. Any suggestions? Great deal, and it's coming from someone who had George Pickens as a buy low guy last week. Saquon's a no-brainer there. I mean, I wouldn't have anything for you now. I mean, fundamentally, we need to be waiting until we get these quarterbacks actually producing. It's a team where I can imagine definitely struggling at this point, knowing that Daniel Jones has been straight up buns, but he's played the 49ers. He's played the Cowboys. I think it will be better going forward. Now, Benny says we have Goddard and Evan Ingram. Should I trade one for Hopkins? If you really want to, you can. Hopkins with an ankle. It's not too exciting. Ravi says, should we trade Lamb for Chase? If you want to, I'd be completely fine with it. I think it's up to you. If you're looking long-term upside, looking short-term production, really that's going to go into it. Now, our next question coming out from Edgar says, I'm in a 12-team at PBR league where we have Burrow, Bijan, Mixon, James Cook, Lamb, London, Judy, Kincaid. And I got Brian Robinson, Roshan, Zach Charbonnet, and Bourne on the bench. We're currently 1-1. Honestly, impressive to have a win at all if we were sitting here with Joe Burrow at quarterback. I will say it would be really nice if we could get Brian Robinson in this starting lineup. If we could put Brian Robinson, actually, no, we can. He's our RB4. We may want to send Brian Robinson in a receiver to get an elite level receiver in return if you really can. But honestly, if this is a league where you have, say, multiple flex spots, probably the depth matters a little bit more. Great team. Great team. Now, Josu, happy to see you, my friend, says 2-0 Nick Chubb owner, 12-team PBR, double flex. We have Burrow, a Burrow team that's 2-0 again. Ford, Montgomery, St. Brown, Smith, Keenan Allen, Ayuk, Elijah Moore, Dobbs, Laporta, Roshan, Frymuth. I picked up Baker in case Burrow misses. Do you see any possible trades? Thank you. No, thank you, my man. I hate to say this, and typically I'm not doing it on a 2-0 team, but if we lost Chubb, I think possibly it makes some sense. if you wanted to go through and if you wanted to see what kind of value we could get for David Montgomery, even if it's just a short-term filler, say you trade Montgomery and get back someone like, if somehow we can swing Montgomery in a depth receiver like Romeo Doubs and get back a player like Kyron Williams off the waiver wire, right? I think that would be really exciting. Just get a running back that we can actually start right now. Now, if you didn't want to do that, and instead, if you wanted to go through and send maybe like Montgomery and just, even just get like a 2-week filler in Zach Moss and then churn the waiver wire and just roster as many running backs on the bottom end as we can, I think that would make sense. It's just so tough to lose both Chubb and David Montgomery the same week and still get by, where right now it looks like we're starting Jerome Ford and Roschon Johnson. Now, Franz says 1-1, 14-team, full PPR format. We need some lineup advice. Brian Robinson, Rashad White, Gibbs, Kelly, Chase, Moore, London. Who would you rather have, DJ Moore or Drake London? Can everybody please spam the chat? Who would you rather start this week? Let me go ahead and see, where does Underdog have the projections for these guys? I believe they have DJ Moore, last I checked, at 3.5 receptions and about 40 receiving yards. They have Drake London at 52.5 total yards. I don't know why I'm having a hard time finding the Chiefs Bears here. They have DJ Moore at 3.5 receptions, 41.5 receiving yards. Looks like the projections definitely are going to tell you to go London, and honestly, I'm not going to fault it at all. Obviously, London looked pretty damn good last week. We got neither Moore, London, London, Moore, London, London, Moore, London. It does look like it's split about 50-50, my man. I would say these Underdog pick'ems, probably a good starting point to make that decision. I think if they're saying to go through and they are saying to go Drake London, you probably go Drake London. Now, Shammy says, thoughts on sending Algier, Ayuk, Dotson for Roschon and Waddle. I think Waddle's the best player in the deal. Let's do it. I'm doing it. Lil Nasty says, flex Mixon or Puka. Great call on Kittle over Henry. Thank you, my man. I think we are going to go ahead. We'll probably go Puka over Mixon. Assuming it's a full PBR format with the target volume is getting in the Burrow injury. Now, Justin says 10-team PBR format. We have Herbert, Jacobs, Gibbs, Diggs, Chase, Lamb, Andrews, Richardson, Watson, Dotson, DJ, JSN, Ford, Warren, Ingram. Next move, or do we stay put? It's a very well-balanced team. We have the elite quarterback, the elite tight end, some great running backs, wide receivers. The only thing I'd say is if you wanted to throw Anthony Richardson out there on the trade block and see if you could get someone to give you a massive upgrade at running back or wide receiver if we paired him up with someone else, that would be interesting. By no means is it something we have to do. It's more so the flexibility whenever we have Justin Herbert here, something we can do. Now, our next switch coming out from Wilcox says, start Brian Robinson, Javonte Judy, or Christian Watson. We'll go Brian Robinson, even in a very tough matchup. Now, Nabella says, we had Brian Robinson, Najee, James Conner, Nico, Garrett Wilson, JSN. Traded Brian Robinson, JSN for Devonta Smith to stag with Jalen Hurts, running back trade from a depth perspective. Rate the trade from a depth perspective. I think it makes a lot of sense. If we still have Etienne and James Conner that we could start. We have Jalen Hurts, so obviously there's a slight premium in getting someone like Devonta Smith. I do really like that, my man. Now, Lelick says 10 TPBR 1 flex. We have Fields, Bijan, Pollard, Ridley, Amari, TJ. On the bench, we have Kelly, Devon, Achane, Roschon, Gainwell, Brandon Cooks, DJ Moore, Hunt. Who are we going to flex and how to trade for Cooper Kupp? If we could go through and if we could send maybe one of these, if we could go DJ Moore and Joshua Kelly and go get Cooper Kupp, that'd be a no-brainer. If the Kupp owner is really looking for production in the short term, I think that'd make a lot of sense. And if not, we will go through and we will start Joshua Kelly over Cooper Kupp. Now, that Pruitt guy says 10-team PBR, double flex. We have Henry, Hill, Pierce, Lockett, Williams, Thomas, and then on the bench, we have Hunt, Vaughn, Cook, Bigsby, Woods, any trade ideas possibly to get rid of Dameon Pierce? Not going to get much for Dameon Pierce right now. The issue is, if you were to go through and package someone on your bench with Dameon Pierce, go get an upgrade at RB, who are people getting excited about? Is anybody going to give you anything for Hunt? Is anything going to give you anything for Keyshawn Vaughn? Think Bigsby, Robert Woods? Probably not, my man. So I hate to tell it to you, but you probably just have to sit on your hands. You probably just have to hope that this Houston Texans offensive line gets healthier. I mean, I'm more so concerned about the usage than the offensive line, though, because the offensive line will improve. It's more like, okay, do they begin using him in a 2-man backfield instead of a 3-man backfield? Justin says, Addison or Kelly, the flex. We're definitely going to go Kelly with no Eckler. Mike says, 0-2, 10-team full BBR. We traded Puka, Brian Robinson, Goff for Josh Allen, Kamara, Lockett. Brian Robinson, Kamara, long-term upgrade, short-term loss. Goff, Allen, massive upgrade. Puka to Lockett, long-term big-time loss. I'm sorry, short-term big-time loss, long-term medium-sized loss. Currently have Burrow, Beach. Okay, so honestly, if we have a very strong starting lineup like this, I'm fine with that. I was expecting to see a way worse team. I think it's a trade that you got a lot of value on. I just don't necessarily know if that's the kind of deal I love doing on an 0-2 team. Okay. Now, BCP says Connor versus Dallas or Sanders versus Seattle. We're going to go with James Conner versus Dallas. Now, Dane says 12-team BBR, 1 flex. We have Jalen Hurts, Chase, Devonta Smith, Bijan, Walker, Waller, Watson, Javonte. Should we trade Smith and Kenneth Walker for Diggs and move Javonte to RB2? I would go Javonte and Devonta Smith for Stephon Diggs. To play Walker, to send Walker and Smith, it does seem like a little bit too much, even though in a 1 flex league, typically that's kind of the move that we're looking to make. Now, Shaz coming out says, how BBR 10-team 0-2 roster where we have Herbert, Waddle, Williams, Pollard, Javonte, Porta, Kelly. And then on the bench, we have Tutu, Garrett Wilson, MT, Kincaid, Ford, JT. We got offered DeAndre Swift and DJ Moore for Javonte and Garrett Wilson. Do we take it? Garrett Wilson to DJ Moore, we're getting a downgrade. I mean, you're getting a very bad offense, similar to the Jets, but a worse talent. Javonte to DeAndre Swift, a possible upgrade. I think it's honestly kind of a fair deal. Can everybody please spam the chat? I probably go Javonte and Garrett Wilson. But who would y'all rather have? Would you rather have DeAndre Swift and DJ Moore or Javonte Williams and Garrett Wilson? Please spam the chat and let me know, ladies and gentlemen, who you want between those two sides. And as we wait, Max says Flowers, Godwin, rest of season. Probably Flowers. Is Zay, Pollard, or Walker Mostert? We're going to go with Pollard here, my man, definitely. Okay. See what people are saying. Wilson, Swift, Swift, Wilson, Swift, Wilson, Swift, Swift. It looks like it's split literally 50-50 right down the middle. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. And no, I promise you, if you were in the chat, we did not skip your super chat. I mean, we just had Shaz saying that we did for the past 5 minutes just for us to get to his question 30 seconds ago. I promise you, you see we go in order. No, y'all would clearly see if we skip something if we were to. We do not skip. Do not worry. Now, our next question coming out from Hank says, 8-team full BBR format. We have Hurts, CMC, Walker, Olave, Ridley, Puka, Ingram. Traded Cook for Ridley. Traded Jacobs and Devonta Smith for Waddle and Olave with Kupp on the IR. Give me Ridley in an 8-team league, high upside, and going with Jacobs for, I would say Devonta Smith, Waddle about the same range. Jacobs to Olave. I don't see why we're trading for all these wide receivers if we have Kupp on the IR coming back in 2 weeks, especially in an 8-team league. It's just interesting to make both those deals. Mercy says Fields or Stafford. We're going to go Fields and then start Miller or Pacheco. Probably going to go Pacheco this week. Unless we get reports before the game saying that 100% Miller is the starting guy. Okay, so it looks like we have more people saying that we skipped their chat. So here's what I'm going to have to do. It looks like we are too far behind if people think that we are skipping their chat. So I'm going to have to turn off super chats. Promise you you're not getting skipped. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to go as fast as I can. Let me turn them off so we can get through all of them so we have no more people in the chat saying that we skipped theirs. Promise you, no chats get skipped. So yeah, super chats are now off from going forward. Let me go and find that last one that we were on. I'll turn them back on whenever we are caught up with everything. But give me a second, ladies and gentlemen. As I pull these back up, please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And also, if you want to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat. Find it in the description. Find it in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% of pause match up $200. I'm sorry, $500 with promo code FLOCK in new accounts. Well, that's going to take some used to getting. I think that's only for the next week or two. So please make sure you're taking advantage of that. Plus, get a Lamar Jackson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard against the Colts. So make sure you're taking advantage. But I actually did miss a question. So we had a glitch with one of these questions. We weren't going to have an issue until I refreshed this page, but now I know it's gone. So with this one question, I promise you it'll be the only one we have an issue with. Airsight, please let me know in the live chat. Do not feel like you have to super chat again. Just let me know in the general chat what your question was. Be super happy to go through and get to that for you, my friend. But I believe our next question coming out from Herbie says, 12-team PPR format, Brian Robinson for Jacoby Myers and Isaiah Pacheco. Is that a fair deal? I would much prefer Brian Robinson. I don't think that Jacoby Myers all of a sudden is some must-start elite level wide receiver. Jonathan says, hey, brother, currently 2-0 in 5 out of my 6 leagues. Appreciate the advice. That is awesome, my man. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Now, Jonathan says, I'm sorry. Next one coming out from Squirt Papa says, 8-team league with coworkers. We have Lamar, Bijan, Eckler, Cup, Puka, DK, Garrett. On the bench, we have Nico, Flowers, Brian Robinson, Addison. Phenomenal team, assuming that we don't have to start a tight ends. I honestly don't think we change anything on it. However, if we needed a tight end to start in this starting lineup, I would love to go through and send like a depth RB like Brian Robinson and whoever our starting tight end is to go get a Mark Andrews to stack with Lamar Jackson. A great team. Now, Damian says 14-team PBR format. Traded Puka for Jamar Chase. Great deal. We have Allen, James Cook, Etienne, Amari, Chase, Ingram. Flex options are Tank Dell, Christian Kirk, Hopkins, Cup on the IR, any way to improve. We got to just scratch and claw and do everything we can until we get Cooper Kupp back. If we get Kupp back, we are going to be in a great spot, my man. But I think we're going to go ahead. We will start Christian Kirk now that you have no Zay Jones, and it looks like Hopkins still isn't fully healthy. Now, Caleb says, my man Mason, 10-team full PBR format. Start for Olave, Smith, Puka, Flowers, Addison, Slant God, and if healthy, Christian Watson. Olave, Smith, Puka are must-start options. I think we will go with Michael Thomas over Christian Watson this week, even if I would prefer Christian Watson long-term. Now, Tyler says PBR start 1, Watson, Addison, Garrett Wilson, or Tank Dell. We will go Garrett Wilson this week. I think you make an argument for Christian Watson long-term, just typically a little bit worried about these guys their first week back coming from hamstring injuries. Now, Jonathan says full PBR, we have Herbert, Bijan, Etienne, Keenan, Devontae Adams, Kittle, and then on the bench we have, Flex, Smith, Kelly, Brees, Connor, and then on the bench, okay, on bench. Think I can make a playoff. I 100% think you can make a playoff run with this team. This is a phenomenal squad, my friend. I mean, we have really no holes top to bottom. We have the Herbert, Keenan stack. If we could sell Brees, we would, but I mean, I think that ship has sailed. I think this team's making a playoff run. This is a great squad, my friend. Great squad. Now, David says 12-team half PBR, where we have Fields, CMC, Walker, DK, Devontae Adams, Waller, Nico. On the bench, we have Watson, Hollywood, Kelly, Reynolds. I'm 0-2. Should I trade Watson or one of the receivers? We need help. My man, I got bad news for you. There will not be a single person in your league right now wanting to go out there and trade for Deshaun Watson. I would love to tell you, oh yeah, let's trade Deshaun Watson. Let's go get an elite level RB. It's not happening. Nothing's happening there for you with Watson, my man. I mean, if we are looking at this team, it would be nice to get an upgrade at the flex spot. I think it doesn't inherently make a ton of sense to trade any of these individual players. The only thing I would say is let's start Joshua Kelly in the flex over Nico Collins. But Ryan says, Mason, you and the flock got me Chase for Evans and Brian Robinson when the buddy was starting Antonio Gibson, Jamal. Oh, that is awesome. We have Allen, Kelsey, Keenan, Chase, Gibbs, and Jacobs. So we have potentially the QB1, the tight end 1, a top 3 wide receiver, and some high upside running backs. You love to see it, my man. Now, let me say it again. Aerosite, if you are in the live chat, I hope I'm saying this name correctly. You're the little emblem that's like a red A that has like a little custom logo. If you have a question, please let me know in the live chat. I think that yours accidentally got removed. So, Aerosite, please, I am probably saying your name incorrectly, but let me know if you have a question. And if you think you're possibly Aerosite with who I'm thinking of, type it in the chat and I'll know. But do not feel like you have to send a super chat. Be happy to answer that for you right now. Non-BBR 12-team league, we have Mahomes, Jefferson, Kupp, Watson, Hollywood, JSN, Hawkinson, Stevenson, Pacheco, Khalil Herbert, Elijah Mitchell, Gainwell, Charbonnet. I feel like we need running back help. Do I try to sell Justin Jefferson? I mean, running back, we're sitting with Stevenson, and I guess we can start Khalil Herbert. Here's a list of running backs I would sell Justin Jefferson for. Christian McCaffrey. That is it. Even in a non-PBR format. Now that we are getting Christian Watson back in, I mean, the thing is, if we sell Jefferson, we're going to be light at wide receiver and we still don't have Kupp. We're going to be having to start Hollywood. So honestly, my friend, I think that you're in a spot that you don't sell Jefferson, because that's like you would go through and you're in a sinking boat. You take out a wood plank to go put a wood plank in the hole that's causing the ship to sink. We're just going to have an issue elsewhere on the roster right after. Keep Justin Jefferson. Once we get Kupp back in, then at that point, we can potentially afford to go out there and get a running back. Now, Ollie says, hypothetical question. If you're in a fantasy league with players from the last 23 years, you have the number 1 pick. Who are you taking? I got Megatron. So this is kind of personal for me. The first guy that I ever drafted in fantasy football was Andre Johnson. I don't know if he was my first round pick, but he was on my first team, and he was the guy that I was most excited about. So I would go through and take Andre Johnson, but let me know in the live chat who you would take. Obviously, you have some guys at the very top like LaDainian Tomlinson, like Christian McCaffrey, 2019 CMC to be exact. Yeah, LT did have the best fantasy season of all time. I don't remember the exact year of it. I remember playing Madden a ton whenever LT did have the best fantasy season of all time, and I would go in like little franchise draft on Madden and take LT round 1 every time. We got Charles, 2015 Cam, AP, MVP Lamar. Yeah, MVP Lamar had the best quarterback season of all time. See, obviously, like the easy answer is go LT, but I think that honestly, everybody probably has their own personal answer. I'm going to go to Deshaun Watson over Russell Wilson. Ahmad, I know it's gross, but Watson's at least still giving you some rushing upside. I don't want to fully give up just yet. Isaiah says Najee and Puka versus Etienne, Collins, or Godwin. Thank you, sir. Etienne easily over Najee. Let's view it this way. Would I rather have Etienne or Puka? Etienne. Would I rather have Godwin or Najee? Kind of up to you. If we were going to do it, I want Etienne and Godwin, but full transparency, I think you get more for Puka. Alex says Latavius or Chuba Hubbard to start in place of injured. I don't know who. Full BBR format, probably Chuba Hubbard. Non-BBR format, you probably have to. Now, our next is coming out from C. Coster says, would you trade Tyreek Hill and Javonte for CeeDee Lamb and Jahmyr Gibbs and Joe Mixon? Tyreek to Lamb, clear downgrade. Javonte to Gibbs, clear upgrade. We're getting Mixon at the same time. Very fair deal. Very much up to your roster, my friend. Ethan says, PBR 10-team league. trade Diggs for Jamar Chase, where we have Jefferson, Puka, and Mike Williams. Can everybody spam the chat on who you would rather have right now? Honestly, if you're trading Diggs for Chase, I would assume that you need to get a little bit of a sweetener on top of it. I would assume right now that the majority of people would prefer Diggs over Chase. But please spam the chat. We have 1,000 people out here. Would you rather have Stephon Diggs or Jamar Chase rest of season? Okay. Diggs, Chase, Diggs. That's close. Diggs, Chase, Diggs. I do really like buying low on Jamar Chase. Like I was saying, if you just look at overall fantasy football value right now, you need to go through and you need to go Chase. And okay, I got this completely wrong. Alistair, you're the person I accidentally missed the message from. I am super sorry. We have someone else with a similar name that we kind of got mixed up with. Please let me know in the live chat what your question was. I'd be super happy to go through and answer that for you, my man. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, PJ says, hey, Mason, I need to start 3. We have Chase, Adams, Ridley, and Puka. I'm going against my league rival. I have to win this week. I personally am starting Adams, Chase, and Calvin Ridley. If we were to get Burrow ruled out for that game and you wanted to go Puka over Chase, you do you. I'm completely fine with it. Can everybody spam the chat on this one? I think this is a very interesting question as well. Who would you bench? Would you bench Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, or Puka? Who are you benching there, ladies and gentlemen? And Alistair says, I'm 2-0. We have Hurts, James Cook, Joshua Kelly, Hill, Olave, Hunter Henry. The flex is Swift. And then on the bench, we have Devonta Smith, James Conner, Dallas Goedert, Brian Robinson. Keep what I have or switch it out. In terms of the starting lineup, I think if it's a full PPR format, I'd probably start Devonta Smith over DeAndre Swift. And I think this is a league where if you have both James Conner and Brian Robinson on our bench, I think we could potentially afford to go through and package together one of the running backs with one of the tight ends, getting an elite level tight end just because we are phenomenal at the position. But great team, my man. I mean, there's a clear reason why we are sitting 2-0 there. But let's see where people would bench. People say bench Chase, Ridley, Chase, Adams, Puka, Chase, Ridley, Chase. Ridley, Chase. Everybody's telling you to bench Jamar Chase. So keep in mind, if everybody in the chat says something and I say to do the opposite, the chat is most likely smarter than I am. I would have to be a fool to convince myself that I was the smartest guy in the room, that I knew what you should 100% only listen to me and not these other people. No. Listen to the other people. They know what they're doing. If they're telling you to go through, if they're telling you to bench Jamar Chase, possibly you want to bench Jamar Chase here, my friend. Okay. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Vader says 10-team non-PPR format. We're 2-0. We have Lamar, Bijan, Sanders, Diggs, Ridley, Goddard, Moss, JT, Terry, JSN, Zay, Gibson, Roshan, Justice. Any moves to make? Thank you, Mason. Appreciate you. No, appreciate you, my man. Non-PPR format, we are trying to load up on running backs. We already have JT for the long term coming into play alongside Lamar, Sanders. We have the elite level quarterback. Wide receiver depth doesn't matter a lot in this format. Phenomenal team, literally doing nothing. We have JSN for the long term. I think you're in a great spot here, my man. Jacob says, thoughts on Hunt was offered Henry, Juju for Hunt and Ridley, and thoughts on Goff. If that's Derrick Henry, I would much prefer Derrick Henry and Juju over Calvin Ridley and Kareem Hunt. I think Kareem Hunt fundamentally is going to be in a running back by committee with Jerome Ford not only this week, but long term. And then Goff, I think, can be a good real-life quarterback, but for fantasy purposes, if it's a 4-point passing touchdown format, doesn't have much rushing upside. SSG Yeti says, you're growing so fast, plus got Adams, Harris for Puka, P. Ryan, and Algier. Now we have Tyreek, Adams, Amari, and Garrett Wilson. Thank you, my man. And I would way rather have Adams long-term over Puka. Harris versus Algier, P. Ryan, who cares? Probably Harris. Yeah, I definitely like going there and getting Devontae Adams there, my friend. Omar says traded Ford for Anthony Richardson. We have Watson as our quarterback, and I could have taken it. Completely fine with you making this move, especially if we have the great RBs here and solid wide receivers. I think it's a completely fine trade now that you have Kareem Hunt over in Cleveland. I do think that at the end of the day, you most likely have Jerome Ford in that committee with Kareem Hunt. Where it's probably hard to see him as like a league winner, right? At least in my mind. I could be completely wrong. Now, Cameron says, team is Goff, Fields, Bijan, Gibbs, Walker, Amon-Ra, Higgins, Ingram, Algier, Terry, JSN, Khalil Herbert. Just traded Kamara and Higgins for Saquon, Mike Williams. Is this a good trade? And also any moves? I'd rather have Saquon over Kamara long-term. Williams, Higgins, probably give me Higgins. I still go Saquon Barkley, but once we make this deal to go get Saquon, really we can't make any other moves because we are going to be stuck on our hands and just waiting until we get Saquon Barkley back. Now, Ravi says, should we trade Lamb for Chase? We answered this earlier on. I'm fine if you want to do it, but I think you can charge a premium. Afro Boy says, huge 49er fan. Do we sell Puka for Ayuk? No. You'd rather have Puka over Ayuk. Now, Vilami says, start 3, Puka, Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, London, Zay Flowers. We're going to go Puka, Mike Williams, between Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Zay Flowers. I think maybe you go Zay Flowers long-term, but I'm going to go Garrett Wilson this week. D-Rock says Flowers, Gibbs, or Godwin for the flex if Waddle doesn't play. I think we are going to go ahead and we'll play Jahmyr Gibbs with no Montgomery. Now, Luck coming out says 14-team PBR format. We get Godwin, Jacobs for Flowers, Sanders, and Javonte. Flowers to Godwin, lateral move, kind of up to you. Probably Flowers in the long term. Jacobs versus Sanders and Javonte. Typically in like a 10-team league, I'd say let's go with the Jacobs-Godwin side. But if it's a 14-team format where depth's harder to come by, I'd probably take the 3 players. Now, next is coming out from Tanner, says we have Herbert, Pollard, Javonte, Waddle, Ridley, Kincaid, Brian Robinson, Flowers. On the bench, we have Najee, Hunt, Dotson, Roschon, and Deontay Johnson. Any moves? I don't necessarily think we need to be doing anything here, my man. I mean, if we were going to try to do something, actually, no, we can't. I mean, we're not going to get any value for Najee. We're not getting any value for Deontay. Great team. If we can trade Flowers for Mike Williams, get a stack with Justin Herbert, we do it, but great squad. Alex coming out saying, 10-team full BBR format. 1-1. We're starting Mahomes, Bijan, Pollard, Addison, Godwin, Hawkinson, Kirk, Collins, Judy. And then on the bench, we have Pierce, Warren, Reed, Michael Thomas. Any advice? I think we're fine as is. If you're telling me this lineup is this deep, though, typically that trade that we try to recommend over and over and over again, making 2-for-1 deals to get upgrades in the starting lineup, that's not going to be as viable here where depth's going to matter a little bit more. Matthew says 10-team BBR format. We have Herbert, Henry, Stevenson, Tyreek, Keenan, Higgins, Frymuth. Currently 2-0. Any moves? I mean, if we could go get maybe like Cooper Kupp at a strong discount, like if you wanted to sell like Higgins for Cooper Kupp for the long term on a 2-0 roster, not going to fault you for that. Stealthy says trying to get Hawkinson with a package up of the following 3 players: Christian Watson, Jerry Jeudy, Flowers, James Cook, DeAndre Swift. What's the best deal we could do? I think if you were looking to make anything here, I mean, James Cook is what's going to get people most excited. I think Zay Flowers would be the wide receiver I'd be trying to sell because I think maybe he has more value than the other guys currently, and I think they're all about the same. If you want to go like Zay Flowers and DeAndre Swift to go get Hawkinson, we can do that. Now, Kuba says, about to get Zach Moss for Frymuth. Is Moss bright or bust? Zach Moss going to be very good over the next 2 weeks. That's all you can really look at is the next 2 weeks with Zach Moss. And if you're telling me we really need someone over the next 2 weeks, then go get him. Gabriel says, hey, man, loving the content. Thank you. Happy BR. Would you start Pickens, Pittman, and Connor Lockett? I'm going to be going with Pickens over. Actually, no, I can't do that. We're going to go Pittman over Pickens. They're pretty close, though. And then we are going to be going with James Conner over Lockett, even in a tough matchup. Now, Daniel says, do I trade Jacobs for A.J. Brown and DeAndre Swift? Yes, I would. And then Dalton says 2-0, 10-team PPR format, 1 flex. We have Hurts, Kamara, Gibbs, Swift, Kelly, Moss, Gainwell, Hill, A.J. Brown, Ridley, Collins, Thomas, London. Any trade ideas and what running backs week 3? We're going to be starting Jahmyr Gibbs and honestly, probably Joshua Kelly. And then if we don't really need someone like, say, Zach Moss, I would look to go through and see if we can package Zach Moss with a tight end for an elite level stud at that position, considering that we don't really need his production over the next 2 weeks, and someone like the Nick Chubb owner would. Okay, Rafi, we already answered that question for you, my man. Ron Boyce says, hey, Mason, full BBR 12-team league. Who should we start in the flex between Tutu, Ford, Brian Robinson, London, or Gabe Davis? We're going to go Brian Robinson, even in a very tough matchup against the Bills. Cooper says, I'm getting Moss for Pat Frymuth. We already have Hawkinson, so he'd be my top bench player. Does Moss have any future value worth investing into? I would say if you are looking at Zach Moss as a running back that's very good over the next 2 weeks, I mean, when JT comes back, if JT stays on the Colts, Zach Moss is nothing. Now, obviously, we don't know if JT's staying on the Colts. There is an outside chance he gets dealt elsewhere. And if that happens, you can be excited about Zach Moss. Now, FLSB Rider says, 1-1, 12-team at BBR format. 1 flex. We have Hurts, Lamb, Pittman, Stevenson, Ford, Goddard, Pierce. On the bench, we have Hopkins, Ayuk, Dillon, Hill, Breida. Any trades? Who do we start at the flex, Pierce or Hopkins? You're the best. And thank you so much, my man. In terms of trades, I don't see anything that sticks out initially. If you could send, like, say, Michael Pittman and a small piece down on the bench and go get A.J. Brown, go get Devonta Smith to pair up with Hurts, I'd really like that. And then between Dameon Pierce, DeAndre Hopkins, if Hopkins is good, we'd probably go Hopkins. I mean, it's tough. Dameon Pierce is a 9.5 point dog in a 3-man running back by committee currently. Nick says, 10-team full BBR 1 flex. We have Hurts, Kyron Williams, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Evan Ingram, Mike Evans, Isaiah Pacheco, Zay, Kamara, Downs, Tank Dell, Roshan, and Akers. Any trade suggestions? I don't really have anything for now. We don't have a lot of depth that we can be getting rid of currently. All I would say is if we're looking at the bottom end of this roster, I definitely want to be optimizing for running backs with upside. Like Josh Downs, for example, is a player that I'd probably rather use that roster spot on a running back rather than a wide receiver, knowing that fundamentally at the end of the day, not too many things can happen to go out there and make Josh Downs a league winner, where I would rather try to find the next Kyron Williams. Now, James says 12-team league. We have Hurts, Pacheco, Swift, Jefferson, Keenan, Kyron, DJ Moore, Kelsey, Flowers, Khalil Herbert, Tyler Higbee, Jeff Wilson Jr., 2-0. Any suggestions? Obviously, running back is a pretty big hole on this team. Now, with that being said, I mean, it's going to be hard to go through and trade one of these wide receivers. If we could get anything for Higbee, I think that'd make a lot of sense. Whenever we have Jalen Hurts and Travis Kelce, we don't want to be rostering backup quarterbacks and backup tight ends. If we go Higbee and get an upgrade somewhere in the starting lineup, open up a roster spot and get a running back, I would like that. Now, Dill says, love what you're doing. Thank you, my friend. 12-team full BBR format, 1 flex. Starting Kirk, Sky, Garrett Wilson, Gus Edwards, Breece Hall, Darren Waller, JSN. On the bench, we have Jalen Ward, Rashad Bateman, Kenneth Gainwell, Jake Ferguson, Shaheed. Who do we start? Okay. Quarterback, we're going to be going with Kirk Cousins. Running back, we're going to be going Gus Edwards with no Justice Hill. And then between Jalen Warren, Breece Hall, Kenneth Gainwell, it is somewhat close. We probably give the slight edge to Breece Hall, even though if you wanted to start someone else, it would be Jalen Warren. Wide receiver, we're going to be going with Garrett Wilson. Brutal spot to have to be relying on both Jets. And then Shaheed over Sky Moore. And then for the flex, I think we go Jackson Smith and Jigba and send up a prayer that he's okay. Not that he's okay, but he expands his role. I mean, I love the player. Obviously, the issue is he just doesn't have a massive role at the moment. Now, Jay Swaggy says 10-team PBR 1 flex, where we have Lamar, Lamb, Olave, Pickens, CMC, Gus, Goddard, Kelly, DJ Moore, Judy, Connor, Javonte, Hunt, Tutu, JT in the IR. Should we flex Moore or Kelly? I'm going to go ahead. I will play Joshua Kelly. My man, much better offense. I understand he did let us down last week, but at the end of the day, this is a spot where he's still a running back that's seeing every single touch in his backfield. Should be a much better matchup this week as well. Now, Geeky Gamer says 16-team full PBR league with only 2 wide receivers and a flex. We have Lawrence, Henry, Ford, Amon-Ra, Dotson, Waller, Algier, Stafford, Spears, Zay, Musgrave. Any moves? We're currently 0-2. 0-2, 16-team league. I mean, it's about time to begin to panic. I think Waller going forward will be better than what he's been over the past 3 weeks. And I said this to someone not liking Waller coming into the season. I mean, if we could go through and try to extract some value out of Luke Musgrave, if you wanted to send like Luke Musgrave and Tyler Algier, get a better flex. Luke Musgrave, Jerome Ford, get a better running back 2. Luke Musgrave, John Dotson, get a better wide receiver 2. I think that could potentially make sense just given the fact that, I mean, Whit Musgrave is probably not going to be viable and it's a good sell high moment if we have Christian Watson and Aaron Jones healthy. Okay, now our next search coming out from Clutch Plays says 12-team PBR, Ridley and Javonte for Saquon Barkley. Definitely going to go Saquon Barkley long term. Seb says 12-team Superflex, 6-point passing touchdown. Herbert, Love, great quarterbacks in that format. Jones, Bijan, Ridley, Allen, Thomas, Dell. We have Akers, Algier, Devon, A-Chain, Cooks, Osborne's, any moves. No inherent trades that we want to be making. I will say, though, my man, starting Tank Dell this week is, I'm in a big roll of the dice. I would honestly rather go through and start Tyler Algier over Tank Dell. Now, Draquez coming out says 12-team PBR dynasty. Trade London, Brian Robinson, Kelly for Jonathan Taylor. Kelly, no value in dynasty. So it's London, Brian Robinson for JT. If you want to get JT, not going to fault you for it. We have Allen, Pierce, Brian Robinson. I think we do go ahead and make this move. I mean, if they're willing to make this move in the first place, I think we just try to keep Joshua Kelly and tell him, hey man, if I'm trading for Jonathan Taylor, I need a running back to start right now. Let me keep Joshua Kelly. But yeah, fundamentally, I mean, we are really going to have to go through and find out what we're doing with Drake London in Dynasty. As I still think that he is so damn talented, but at the same time, I mean, it is a really tough spot for the situation. It doesn't change anytime soon. The Pruitt guy says no Underdog in Okay, this must be Louisiana. There is Underdog in California, not in Louisiana. Anyway, I can still get a hat. As of now, we're just making it easy for our team. Like, I'm shipping out hundreds of hats, so it's like real easy to say, okay, if you're on flockfantasy.com, if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog, we ship them out. I'll try to do something where we can get people hats that didn't use promo code FLOCK on Underdog. But as of now, nothing, my friend. As of now, nothing. I'm sorry. And of course, if y'all want to check out any of those pick'ems on Underdog Fantasy, or if you want to go through and try to get yourself a Flock Fantasy hat for this next week, you can use promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match up to $500 on new Underdog accounts right now. And also on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be getting our rest of season rankings and tiers, a Lamar Jackson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard against the Colts as well. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that ASAP. But our next question coming out from, I believe, Burby says 10-team PBR, where we have Allen, Jacobs, Mostert, Debo, Williams, Godwin, Kelsey. On the bench, we have Tua, Sanders, Algier, Hopkins, Zay, Boyd, Henry. What are your thoughts and any moves? Great team. The only thing I could possibly say is if we have Kelsey, if we could somehow take Hunter Henry and Mike Williams, go get an elite receiver. If we have Allen, somehow we can take Tua and Raheem Mostert and go get an elite level running back. Those would be moves I'm really looking to make. I don't even think we have to have backup quarterback, backup tight end when we're so strong there. Michael says, hey Mason, I traded away Sam Howell and Roshan for Javonte and Bryce Young before we knew he was out this week. What are your thoughts? I'd way rather have Javonte here, assuming it's a one quarterback league. I'd still, even with him being out. Now, Kevin says 2-0 10-team league where we have Lamar, Diggs, Garrett Wilson, Etienne, Rashad White, Hawkinson, Puka, Javonte Kamara, Algier, Cousins, Watson, Kareem Hunt, any trades in a half PPR format. I don't see anything. I mean, if we can attack like the Burrow team, if we can attack the Watson team, the Anthony Richardson team, and send like Kirk Cousins and a smaller piece and go get an upgrade elsewhere, we would do it. Like if we go Cousins and Hawkinson and go get Andrews to stack with Lamar, I would love that. But outside of that, great team and great roster construction. Lobster says Superflex pick 3, Kyron, Jacobs, Gibbs, Mayfield, and Kelly. We're going to go with Baker Mayfield for damn sure. We're going to go Josh Jacobs as well. And then I probably go with Jahmyr Gibbs under the assumption it's a full PPR format now that we have no David Montgomery. Now, Ansky coming out says, lost Chubb and needs some suggestions on the moves. 12-team at PPR. Starters are Fields, Bijan, Algier, DK, Devonta Smith, Ertz, Kirk. On the bench, we have Zeke, Godwin, Herbert, and Woods. Okay. Super tough spot, my man. I mean, at least we have, say, Tyler Algier to start right now. The only thing I would say is I'm actually not going to be looking to make any trades with this team once we lose Chubb. I think that we are just doing everything we can to be the next person to find like the next Kyron Williams, right? If we can do that, that would put us in such a good spot overall, my friend. So if we could cut Robert Woods, pick up another running back off the waiver wire, and potentially find a replacement for free for Nick Chubb, that's what we're going to do. Try to roster as many running backs as possible. Alex says Latavius or Chuba Hubbard this week while Barkley's out. Non-PPR, we're going to go Latavius. Full PPR, we're going to go Hubbard. Henry says Herbert, Bijan, Ramadre, Algier, Roshan, Diggs, Garrett, Sutton, JSN, Parker, Ertz, Njoku, Laporta, Montgomery, Warren. Start sit, full PPR. Do we go Roshan, Parker for Zay Flowers? I go Zay Flowers there. Running back, we're going to start Bijan, Ramadre. Wide receiver, we're going to go Diggs and Garrett Wilson. And for the flex, I think we're actually going to take Tyler Algier, my friend. Lux says we still have Ayuk, Roshan, Kelly, Adams, Ridley, Jacoby, Hubbard. Kenneth, going to my last question. Okay, so let's see if we can pull this up one more time. Oh, okay, so that's the 14-team format. Yeah, that doesn't change anything for us, my man. That doesn't change anything. Now, J Magnum says 10-team at BBR, 1 flex. We're 1-1. We have Hurts, Jacobs, Kyron, Kelly, Moss, Sanders, Madison, Algier, Herbert, Waddle, Collins, Kirk, Kelsey. Any advice? Thank you so much. No, thank you, my friend. And I don't necessarily see anything that we want to be doing right now outside of potentially going through, and when we have this kind of running back depth, if we could take someone like Zach Moss, who maybe has a limited shelf life, package with Nico Collins to go get a long-term upgrade at wide receiver, I think I'd really like that, my friend. I would really like that. Now, our next question coming out from Danny says, 1-1, 10-team league, 3 wide receivers in a flex. We have Geno, Devonta Smith, T, Puka, James Cook, Pollard, Kelsey, Madison, Khalil, Dotson, JSN, Elijah Dobbs. Thoughts and who to flex. Wide receiver, we're going to go T, Puka. Running back, we're going to go Cook, Pollard. Flex, we're going to be going with, actually, no, I guess we need 3 wide receivers. We'll have Smith. And then flex, we're going to go with Miles Sanders as well. I think it's a great team. I really like the long-term upside that we have at JSN. If you could possibly take, like, if Khalil Herbert ever has a spike week where you have one of these running backs on the bench with the spike and get an upgrade over Geno for the long term, I'd really like that. Now, Isaiah says Kelly, Algier, or Miller for RB2. We're definitely going to go Joshua Kelly. And Austin says 12-team at BBR, 1 flex. Potential trade is Dak, Hill, Stevenson, Sanders for Allen, Jefferson, Gus Edwards, Jonathan Taylor. I'd be receiving Justin Jefferson. Dak to Josh Allen upgrade. Tyreek Hill to Justin Jefferson upgrade. Ramondre Stevenson, Jonathan Taylor upgrade. Miles Sanders, Gus Edwards downgrade. We're definitely going to go with the Jefferson side, my man. Love it. Saltwater says 10-team BBR, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Pick 3 receivers. We have Hill, Addison, Smith, Tutu, Myers, Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson. Leaning Addison. He's ranked so low, feeling like he will go off. 3 wide receivers are going to go Hill, Smith, and honestly, Mike Williams. I think you have to take Mike Williams. It's a no-brainer. With Mike Williams, this is a wide receiver that now you're in a spot with no Austin Eckler. You should see the continued expansion of targets going in the direction of the wide receiver position here, my friend. Now, the digital print house says 14-team full BBR, 1-1. We have Lawrence, CMC, Pollard, Kamara, Hunt, Roshan, Bigsby, Ayuk, St. Brown, Dotson, Burks, Elijah Moore, Kendrick Bourne, Laporta, Musgrave, Lockett for Kareem Hunt, or any other suggestions. 14-team format, obviously wide receiver depth and running back depth would be a little bit harder to come by, but I actually think that does make a lot of sense. I mean, obviously, if you're like in a 10-team 1 flex league, the name of the game is just get someone that you think could turn into a league winner. I mean, even if that means their situation has to change. 14-team format, that's a little bit different, where we are more so going through and trying to just get anybody that we can feel confident is a starter. So I actually would like Lockett. And we just turned back on Super Chats. I think we only have one more question. And this one more question coming out from Christopher says, are you buying the Tajay Spears hype? I mean, Tajay Spears, it's simple. I mean, he led these backfield in snaps week 1. He's a running back that's running a lot of routes. If Derrick Henry misses, Tajay Spears is a must-start guy. If Derrick Henry plays, Tajay Spears is nothing. Rob says, is Ty Chandler dust? Yes. Drop Ty Chandler if you have him. And then London or Zay Flowers. And then Jaden Reed or Shaheed. We're going to go with Reed if Watson misses, Shaheed if Watson plays. And then we're going to go, oh my gosh, London versus Zay Flowers. I think most people would take Zay Flowers. I guess we could actually probably go Zay now that we have no Odell Beckham Jr. tonight. I think we can use that as a tie break. Okay. Okay, so now our next, we have a donation coming out from Luke. Thank you. We got Julian says, Condre Miller or Samaje Perine at RB2. Probably would go Miller. I mean, we saw this past week, Perine get literally no involvement in this offense in terms of actual touches. Ron says, trades for more roster spots. We have Fields, Allen, T, Waddle, Amon-Ra, Adams, Kirk, James Cook, Ford, Dillon, Roshan, Khalil, Kelly, Madison, Waller. Full BBR Superflex, 0.5 point per carry. Ooh, 0.5 point per carry. I love that we are rostering this many running backs. We're starting James Cook and Joshua Kelly. If you wanted to go to the Nick Chubb team and send them Jerome Ford, and I actually want to keep Justin Fields in a 0.5 point per carry format. This is a perfect format for him. If you want to send like Jerome Ford and say Christian Kirk to go get a long-term upgrade to wide receiver, I think that would make a lot of sense there, my friend. I'd really like that. But great team, and more importantly, great roster construction for that format. Okay, so Raj says, who do I target with Pacheco? Should we go for a Pacheco-Puka package? If we're going to go Pacheco and Puka, the wide receivers I've seen people be able to get to, I've seen people get to A.J. Brown. I've seen people get to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would also be looking at the Olave range. I'd be fine with any of that. But Cole says PBR start to Chase, Higgins, Lockett, and Zay Flowers. I'm going to go with both Cincinnati guys and send up a prayer that Burrow's okay. Now, Taggart Corn, longtime member of the flock. Don't know if we've seen you out in a while, my man. Maybe you accidentally, didn't recognize it, didn't register it when we were live for like 5 hours one night. But nonetheless, it's 10-team PBR. I'm 2-0. We have Tua, Bijan, Etienne, Lamb, Waddle, Puka, Evans, Hawkinson, JSN, Addison, Watson, Sanders, Kelly, Sharp, Hunt. Should we trade Puka and Evans for Olave? I like the idea. However, I just think that fundamentally, you are not getting nearly enough value in return. If you look at what everybody would tell you here, everybody would scream that they want the Puka and Evans side. If we're doing this, I think we need a CeeDee Lamb level player, just based off of how market value is currently. Owen says 0-2 in a 10-team half PPR league. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. Who should we start or sit? We have Cousins, Love, Lamb, Watson, Atwell, Reynolds, Tank Dell, Etienne, Roschon, Damian Pierce, Najee, Kelsey, and Hunter Henry. We're going to be starting Kelsey and Kirk Cousins at quarterback and tight ends. Wide receiver, we're going to be going CeeDee Lamb and Christian Watson if he's good to go. If Christian Watson's not good to go, we'll go to Atwell. Running back, we're going to go Travis Etienne. And honestly, I guess Damian Harris and Najee Harris for the RB2 and flex spot as well, even if it's gross. And if we're looking to make any trades, my man, when we have Travis Kelce, we do not need Hunter Henry here. I mean, you are in a very fortunate position where we can sell Hunter Henry and we can look to go ahead and see if we can get an upgrade somewhere else. Now, James coming out with our next question, saying 2-0, 10-team full BBR format, where we have Mahomes, Etienne, Mostert, Keenan Allen, Waddle, Kelsey. Who are we going to start the flex? We have Atwell, Zach Moss, Christian Watson, Tank Dell, Roschon, Sky Moore, Taj Spears, Saquon Barkley, and any trade ideas. Flex, we're going to go Zach Moss. Not going to be too close for us when he's playing pretty much every single snap. And I would say this isn't really a team that you need to go through and make a trades. I think you have a phenomenal roster as is, my man. I mean, that's kind of shown off based off the fact that, hell, we're already 2-0. And the thing is, if you're looking at Zach Moss, this is someone that if we have a ton of running backs, I'm fine going through and selling. But specifically, we don't want to do it if we have someone like Saquon Barkley, right? Because Zach Moss is a short-term option, not going to give us much in the long term. But that's what we need on a Saquon Barkley team. MP says we have Kupp, Kyron, Puka. I'm 2-0. Who do we ship out? 10-team league where we also have Higgins, White, Ridley, Hawkinson, Lawrence, and Herbert. If we're 2-0, I would look to ship out Puka. I mean, when we do have Kupp coming back, I think Puka will still be viable. I just think he won't be as good as what he's been. So if you wanted to go through and send Puka and maybe package him together with another option, I mean, honestly, we don't even have to package him with someone else. If you just wanted to send him straight up, if we can get to that A.J. Brown, get to that Amon-Ra St. Brown, get to that Olave range where we have no questions regarding the long term, I would really like that. Now, Tommy says, update, we put Garrett Wilson on the block. Should we accept Raheem Mostert for Garrett Wilson? Trade for Stevenson almost happened. I would say no, my man. The reason if you are looking at Raheem Mostert, it's going to be a running back that you have a limited shelf life. You get 2 weeks from Raheem. Jeff Wilson Jr. will come back in. And then at that point, we really don't know what the situation is going to be. But E coming out, happy to see you, my friend, says, liking the channel. It's a 10-team league where we have Tua, Dak, Diggs, Keenan, DK, Myers, Hollywood, Saquon, Jacobs, Kyron, Montgomery, Moss, Waller, and Njoku. Any moves? It's a very well-balanced team. It's going to be a team where it's going to be hard to make moves right now because we have no Saquon Barkley and no David Montgomery. We have a couple short-term running back fill-ins like Zach Moss where we can go through and play them. So very similar to this other 2-0 team that we just looked at. I mean, I think that you are in a very comfortable position. And I think we could say, let's go through and let's take some of this running back depth that has a limited shelf life. Let's go see if we can get an upgrade somewhere else. If it wasn't for the fact that we are in a situation where we have some injured running backs ourselves, where we need to make sure that we have hopefully just a better long-term viable running back when Barkley comes back in. Then at that point, if we can get someone for Kyron, let's do it. Skyward says we got Kirk Cousins on the waiver wire, and I'm being offered either A.J. Dillon or JSN for him, where we have Jalen Hurts in a 10-team, 1 flex league. Do we take JSN? Yes, we would. You're never starting Cousins. You're never starting him. I mean, specifically there. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Travis, who says, is this the one week where you could flex Taysom? I would for sure not flex Taysom Hill. If you don't have a tight end option that you're excited about, then sure, you could go ahead and do it. You could put him at the tight end slot, but you can't put him at the flex. Now, Adithya says Diggs, Lockett, Barkley for CMC, Watson, and Addison. Barkley to CMC upgrade. Lockett to Watson upgrade. Well, let's go Diggs CMC upgrade. Lockett to Watson upgrade. Barkley to Addison downgrade. If you are, say, 2-0 and we need points right this 0-2 and we need points right this second and you go CMC, if you're 2-0 where you can wait for the long-term upside of Barkley, maybe a little bit tougher to do that. Now, Gio got fans coming out and says, who to start at the flex, full PPR format, where we have Walker, Cook, Addison, or Higgins. And then also Stroud versus the Jags or Love against the Saints. I'm going to go Love against the Saints, actually, especially if you have a healthy Aaron Jones, Christian Watson. And for the flex, we are going to go Kenneth Walker here. I mean, they should be able to win this game. I believe they are favored by about a touchdown. Young Lock says we traded Puka and Swift for Diggs. Oh, I like the deal, my man. Phenomenal deal. This is the deal that you're looking for if you're selling Puka. Cole says if Burrow doesn't play this, no, we'll still go with the Bengals, guys. Still go with Bengals. Now, Cuz says 10-team PBR1 flex, 5 bench. We have Hurts, Bijan, Pollard, DK, Ayuk, Goddard, Kenneth Walker. On the bench, we have Dotson, Addison, DeAndre Hopkins, Jordan Love. 1-1. Which wide receiver should I be targeting to upgrade? If you could say take like Jordan Love and DK Metcalf, send them together and go get Jalen Waddle, go get Devonta Smith, go get Chris Olave, go get Calvin Ridley, I'd really like to do that. I mean, if a team needs a quarterback. If they don't, and instead they ask for John Dotson, we do that as well. Stormbreaker says, thanks for the hard work. No, thank you for being a member of the flock, my man. I need help on who to start at wide receiver 2 in the flex between Pittman, Collins, Watson, London, Moore, Hollywood, and Zach Moss in a 10-team PBR format. I think we're going to go ahead. We'll go Michael Pittman for one of these slots. And then for the flex, I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Zach Moss. Really like the long-term upside of Christian Watson. We'll be able to play him right now, though, my friend. We'll be able to get him in there right this second. Nick says, what kind of running back should I be able to trade for with Amon-Ra St. Brown? If you're trading Amon-Ra, you're going to be looking at the Derrick Henry range. I don't think he's going to be good enough to get you up to Tony Pollard, but essentially those round 1 RBs. Johnny says, 12-team PBR, do I trade away Sanders and Pacheco for Jonathan Taylor? We still have Kenneth Walker, Dameon Pierce, Roshan Johnson. Currently 0-2. 8 teams make the playoffs. 0-2, we are highly incentivized to go for points now, but we're not starting Sanders, Pacheco really anyway. So, I mean, if 8 teams make the playoffs, I'm completely fine getting JT. Tyler says, Atwell or Pittman. We're definitely going to go Michael Pittman here, my man. Doc says, start Condre Miller or Craig Reynolds. We'll go Miller over Reynolds. Also, are you thinking to build a draft analyzer tool with the new developers? Love you, Mason. Yes, sir. We're going to do a lot, just in case y'all didn't hear. We are hiring a couple full-time developers for flockfantasy.com. We will be making this the best fantasy football site on the planet for everybody. So, yes, we're going to have a ton of different tools. And if there's anything that you want to see tool-wise on flockfantasy.com, please feel free to reach out to me. And if you did not already apply for the developer position, full transparency, probably it's too late. We had like over 100 applicants. If you really wanted to, you can send a resume to fantasyflocknetwork@gmail.com or mason.at flockfantasy.com, either or. But most likely, I'm sorry, it's too late. But Mo says, traded Jerome Ford for Christian Watson. Is this a W? Depends on your roster and depends on your league format. Very interesting. Mark says 0-2 and we need help. 10-team PBR1 flex where we have Allen, CMC, Walker, Amon-Ra, Amari, Addison, Goddard. On the bench, we have Mostert, Pacheco, Dobbs, Lockett, Zach Ertz. Who to start in any trades? Thanks. Okay. I would like to get Mostert into the starting lineup. I can't bench CMC, can't bench Walker. The only thing is take Addison out of the starting lineup. Please put Raheem Mostert in there. And I don't really see too many trades that we want. Just please make sure you're playing Mostert. And really surprised here that we're 0-2 with CMC. Cooler Ant says 0-2 full BBR. We have Fields, Etienne, Rashad White, Jeff Wilson, Christian Kirk, Jake Ferguson, Alexander Madison in the flex. And then on the bench, we have Mooney, Warren, Bigsby, Shaheed, Frymuth, and Breida. Any moves? I'm actually fine playing Madison in the flex now that Akers won't be playing this weekend. In terms of trades, what player currently has value that we can go and send? outside of the guys that we definitely need to be keeping. We need to keep Etienne. We need to keep White. We need to keep Jefferson. I can't tell you, oh yeah, let's go trade Darnell Mooney and Justin Fields. Go get a quarterback upgrade. In reality, that's not going to help you. In reality, that's not happening, you know? So I think we sit on our hands. I think we send up a prayer that Fields looks a little bit better. But I don't think we can make any trades here just because I don't know who's excited to trade for these guys. Okay. So our next question coming out from Luke, who says, Cousins, Sanders, Kyron, Adams, Higgins, Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, and then on the bench we have White, McLaurin, Cooks, Gibson, Bourne, Gus Edwards, Jalen Warren. Any moves? Trades, if we have this much running back depth, if we could send like Gus Edwards, a clear startable running back right now to a team that maybe needs him, send like Gus Edwards and Kirk Cousins to go get a marginal quarterback upgrade, I think that could be appealing. Gus Edwards, Terry McLaurin to go get a marginal wide receiver upgrade. Like, it's not getting better for Gus Edwards than it is currently. So I would like to go through and see if we can squeeze some value if we can. Now, Joe says 14-team full BBR start Zay or Hopkins. We're going to go Hopkins if he plays. And the Kareem Hunt or Dameon Pierce. We're going to go Pierce. Please do not play Kareem Hunt this week. Don't play don't play Jerome Ford. Both have horrible matchups, and I think they split this backfield. I'd rather see what the split is than look to go through and play someone. But my name's Blue coming out says 12-team PBR double flex where we have Tua, CMC, Hall, Amon-Ra, Ridley, Mike Williams, JSN, Hawkinson. And then on the bench, we have Cousins, Myers, Hunt, Pirine, Gainwell. Any and all trades to be made need a running back. Thank you. No, thank you, my man. Definitely need someone over, say, Breece Hall. If we can go to the Burrow team, go to the Richardson team, go to the Watson team, go to the Fields team, go, hey, man, I'll give you Breece Hall and Kirk Cousins. Give me a running back upgrade. I think that'd make a lot of sense. Fundamentally, I don't really know if there's anybody else that people are excited to trade for on this team. And I definitely am excited about JSN in the long term. Long term, I definitely would rather have JSN over Jacoby Myers. I will say in the short term, however, you do want to have Jacoby Myers in your starting lineup over Jackson Smith and Jigba. But real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not done so already, we are less than 10 likes away from hitting 800 likes on this live stream. Please go down there, drop a like on this stream if you have not done so already. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. We are closing in on 200,000 subscribers. And of course, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems on Underdog Fantasy, find that link in the live chat, find in the description, find in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match up to $500 on new accounts right now. Plus, you're going to be getting a Lamar Jackson special pick'em. And on top of that, a Flock Fantasy hat. We're shipping these out nonstop at this point. Please just make sure you fill out the Google form if you're on flockfantasy.com and use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy if you want that hat or if you want a shirt. Just let me know what you want. Now, next question coming out from KJ says, I have a trade offer for Alvin and Sky Moore. I'd be giving up Barkley and Flowers. I have Derrick Henry, Breece Hall as my other running back. Should I do it? Going from Zay Flowers to Sky Moore, massive downgrade. Going from Barkley to Alvin Kamara, I mean, honestly, I think that's a downgrade as well. So no, please keep Saquon Barkley and Zay Flowers. Mark says, forgot to mention that we have Puka. Let's see if we can find Mark's question. Okay, if we have Puka, we are in a much better spot. If we have Puka, then yeah, bench Addison, play Puka there, my man. And then at that point, if you wanted to sell, say, Raheem Mostert and Dallas Goedert and go get an elite level tight end, then let's do it. Now, Ryan coming out says 10-team PBR 1 flex. Currently sitting with Allen, Kelsey, Keenan, Chase, Mike Williams, Watson, Sutton, Josh Jacobs, Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery, Jalen Warren, 2 open bench slots. What do we do? And how do we turn the bench any faster? I don't know what you mean by that, but I mean, really like that we are not rostering a backup quarterback, backup tight end when we have these elite level guys here. I think you probably split it down the middle. I think you probably pick up 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, because this is a team where, I mean, if your wide receiver 4 is Sutton, I think you can roster a 5th guy. And we're pretty damn strong at running back. If you wanted to go, actually, no, we have Keenan, Chase, Williams. Lots. No, never mind. We already five wide receivers. Let's just go through and let's, especially in a one flex league, pick up 2 running backs with open bench spots, my man. Love that team. Sports Culture Out Again says Brian Robinson and Garrett Wilson for Brandon Ayuk and Javonte Williams. Ayuk over Wilson long-term. Brian Robinson, Javonte, kind of up to you. Running backs are Eckler, Kelly, Walker, JT. Receivers are Ridley and Amari. Also, Musgrave or Ertz this week. Definitely Zach Ertz over Luke Musgrave. I think we'd probably go with the Ayuk and Javonte Williams side. And I was saying to buy low on Brian Robinson last week too. I like Brian Robinson. Alan says give James Conner and Hunter Henry and get Najee Harris and Darren Waller. Probably not at this point. With how Najee is trending, I mean, if you want to make that call, you go do it. I would rather have Waller over Henry still, but to go and trade for Najee, if you are still a Najee believer, you can make the move. I just am not, and I would be nervous. Now, it's Dave Mann coming out, says 14-team PBR double flex, where we have Allen, Bijan, Ford, Javonte, Keenan, Nico, Puka, Zay Jones, Ayuk, Ertz, Aiden Hurst. We had Nick Chubb. We flipped Dak for Bijan. Where should we be looking to upgrade tight ends? How the hell did we flip Dak for Bijan? You don't upgrade tight end. No, this is the exact roster construction we want. This is the exact team we are looking for. It is a 14-team PPR double flex. In this kind of league, it is going to be much more difficult to go out there and find running backs that you're excited about, find wide receivers that you're actually excited about. So this is one of those formats where I am completely fine going through and punting tight end, my man. I really like this spot. Now, Torrance says, is Etienne or Jacobs a clear enough upgrade over Stevenson and Evans? We have Eckler, Kelly, Brian Robinson, Mahomes, Diggs, Waddle, Allen, Goddard, Judy, Pickens. We're 2-0. Shallow PBR league, generally I'm fine taking that wide receiver depth piece. The thing is just seeing what other people are trading Mike Evans for right now. Like, it is obnoxious, these prices that people are getting with Mike Evans. So I would say, my man, honestly, I would probably go through. I would probably look for a better running back. You know I love me some Travis Etienne. I just think that you can squeeze a little more value out. Jay coming out says 14-team full PBR format. I'm 1-1. We have Allen, James Cook, Ramadre, St. Brown, Lamb, Andrews, Higgins. And then on the bench, we have Raheem Mostert, Zach Moss, Nico Collins, Shaheed, Sky. Any improvements at running back? I would say if you want to use some of this short-term production that we have at RB, let's go through and let's approach the Nick Chubb team. Let's go ahead and let's approach the, say, J.K. Dobbins team and go, hey, man, I'll give you James Cook and Raheem Mostert, 2 startable running backs. Give me 1 stud in return. If you could go through and make a move like that, I think that would be very appealing, honestly. Now, of course, with that being said, I don't love trading away depth in a 14-team format usually. I just think that if you look at the landscape of things right now, you'd be able to get a considerable amount of value. Now, Austin coming out says 1-1, 14-team league, 3 wide receivers. We have Lawrence, A.J. Brown, Debo, Ridley. Phenomenal in a 14-team league. Kirk, Pollard, JT, Kelly. We have Kelly for the short term, JT for the long term. This is a nutso team. We just lost Nick Chubb and I've been finessing. Honestly, my man, this sounds like karma. You lost Nick Chubb because you must have robbed your league mates in a couple of these deals to have this. I mean, I am trying to find anything that we can do here. I think that you're in a really good spot. I think that you sit on your hands. I'm hesitant to say it because obviously 14-team league, waiver wire is going to be a little bit worse. But if you could possibly go through and maybe move out, like just cut Robert Woods, go pick up another running back off the waiver wire, that's like the only thing I'm looking to do. Robert says full BBR, Gus, Judy, or Warren for the flex. Thanks, Bruno. Thank you, my man. We are going to go ahead. We'll probably play Gus Edwards, even in a full PPR format, now that you have no Justice Hill. Now that you have no Hill. Jeep Guy says, hair game on point today. Keep up the grind. Thank you, my man. I'll say, I am losing more and more hairs every single day, and I think it's from live streaming this much. Like, I'm going to be bald quickly. And I've already told y'all, full transparency, the second I am bald, if I'm still making YouTube videos, it'll be a business decision, similar to how people, when they go on TV for like NFL sports anchors, like go get their hair transplants. I'm going getting a hair transplant once it happens. It's going fast, my man. But our next question, coming out from, I believe, Rusty says, 12-team app BBR, 1 flex. We're 1-1. We have Allen, Bijan, Gibbs, Pierce, Pirine, Gus, Kamara, Kirk, Pittman, Tutu, Tank Dell, Garrett Wilson, Deontay, and TJ Hawkinson. The elite quarterback, the elite tight end, great running backs at the top end, more RBs coming in with Kamara soon. The only place we're weak a little bit is wide receiver. If we could take maybe like Gus Edwards, someone that we don't really need now, we're not really ever going to need when we get Kamara back in. If you want to send like Gus Edwards and Garrett Wilson, go get a wide receiver upgrade from a team that maybe just lost Chubb, I think we could look to do that, but you're in a great spot, my friend. Now, Ruby coming out says, was about to drop Najee. League mate sent me Garrett Wilson for Najee. Is that a good trade? Obviously, it really depends on your exact situation. I would say if you were going to drop him, you must be in a very crazy league where waiver wire options are great. If you were going to drop him, then sure, we'll take a free Garrett Wilson, right? I would just say don't drop Najee Harris. Don't. Bryce says 10-team league where we have Hurts, Aaron Jones, Madison, Smith, Diggs, and Kittle. Great team. Great quarterback, great tight end, running backs, and wide receivers with upside. Obviously, it'd be nice to get a better running back too, though. Levi says for the bench, we have Hunt, Tony, Charbonnet, Roshan, and Algier. Let's see if we can find Levi's question. Are you saying to pick 2 for this? If we're picking 2 guys here, we would go with the combination of Kareem Hunt and Tyler Algier. Actually, we'll go. Yeah, we'll do that. Zach says, love the channel. Thank you, my man. We're 0-2 with Lamar, Sanders, Warren, Chase, Olave, Wilson, Watson. And then on the bench, we have Pierce, JSN, Dylan, Myers, Zay, Shaquille, any moves, Wilson, and Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. 100%, that's the move to make, my man. We got to sell Wilson. We got to sell JSN. Go get an upgrade at wide receiver. I don't like doing it, but it's probably something that makes sense on a team where we are currently sitting at 0-2, and we just need points in this lineup right now, right? We just need points in the lineup ASAP. Okay. Now, Arnaud says, 14-team Happy BR Dynasty Superflex roster. We're currently sitting at 2-0. We have King Henry, Najee Harris, Jerome Ford, Roshan, Khalil Herbert, Evans, Keenan, Williams, Quentin, Roshad, Downs, Pitts, Schultz. We were offered Najee, Keenan, Pitts for Saquon, Metcalf, Higbee. Yes or no in any other needs. Saquon versus Najee, give me Saquon. Metcalf versus Keenan, give me Keenan. Pitts versus Higbee, up to you, probably Pitts. Actually, oh no, this is Dynasty, never mind. Thank God we reread this. Dynasty, 2-0 roster where we're looking to compete though. Keenan to Metcalf there in Dynasty. Pitts over Higbee. Saquon still over Najee though. I'm fine with us making this move, but I would rather wait until the end of the week. I'm assuming we can wait until the end of the week regardless, but if we wait until the end of the week where possibly we don't have Saquon Barkley missing any time, I think that'd be a move that we would really like. But it's just tough to do it right now if we're going to be missing out on some of these top end performances that could help us go from 2-0 to 3-0, right? Like Keenan looks like he's just going to straight up crush this week with no Eckler. I'm fine with this move, but let's wait one more week before we pull it off. And great team there, my man. Great team. Magic Shroom says, needed a running back. We have Pearson Madison. I traded Diggs for Stevenson and Evans. I do not like this deal, my man. This is kind of the opposite of what I like doing. I would have rather taken like a wide receiver 2 and Alexander Madison to go get Ramondre Stevenson straight up. Mo says 10-team double flex PPR format. We have Javonte Hall, Brian Robinson, Charbonnet, Roshan, Kelly, Olave, Kelsey, Lamb, Mike Williams, JSN. We traded Jerome Ford for Christian Watson. Flock until I die. Happy to have you, my man. Double flex, full BBR format. I like a little bit more. I will say Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, really hard to know exactly what this split's going to be like. I mean, I do expect this to be a running back by committee with, I just don't know what direction the split's going to go. You know, I don't know if it's 60-40 in favor of Hunt. I don't know if it's 60-40 in favor of Ford. Now, Sulin says Swift and Kyron for AJ and JSN. Oh, definitely give me AJ Brown, JSN there, my man. Chris says trade Olave and Brian Robinson for Puka and Taylor. Ooh. I'd rather have Taylor over Robinson. I'd rather have Olave over Puka. It's a fair deal. Do you need production now or do you want production long-term? James says 10-team full BBR format where we currently have Lamar, Bijan, Pollard, Kareem, Kelly, Algier, Charbonnet, Ritter, Mike Williams, Christian Watson, Garrett Wilson, Christian Kirk, Jahan Dotson, and Joku Ferguson. Sitting at 1-1, any trade packages and targets you got. Love you, man. Love you, my man. And 1-1, I mean, we are kind of stuck in the middle of the road here. We have well balanced. I'll say if this is a 10-team league with only 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, you'd be highly incentivized to go through and take one of these wide receivers when we just have so many of them and go send like go send like Mike Williams and David Njoku and see if we can get a tight end that we're really excited about. If it's a league where you start, say, like 3 wide receivers, 2 flex, I think we're chilling with the team, though. Gabriel says, I'm in a tough spot, lost Dobbins, and with Barkley out, we have to decide between Dylan, Warren, Gainwell, and Kadre Miller. Which 2 would you start? We would go with Warren and Dylan if Aaron Jones were to miss. Warren and Miller if Aaron Jones were to play. Rusty says, any trade ideas for my roster? Okay, let's go ahead. Let's see if we can find this. Yeah, we already gave you sending like Gus Bust and getting an upgrade somewhere else if you could, my man. I think maybe now you can actually get some value for Gus Edwards that Justice Hill's injured in this backfield as well. Now, Young Gun says Ford, Algier, Judy, Williams, Kirk. We need a receiver and a flex. Wide receiver, we're going to be going Mike Williams. In the flex, we're going to be going Jerry Judy in a full PPR format. Unless you want to go Kirk now that you have no Zay Jones. But definitely going to be looking at those 2 guys. Joe says Judy or Gabe Davis were to miss Davis's upside. I would go Jerry Judy in what should be a very high-scoring contest. I think Judy will be much better now that he's another week removed from the hamstring. Cole says, do we trade Pickens for Jerome Ford? If you are desperate for a running back, I do think Jerome Ford splits this backfield with Kareem Hunt. So I don't think that Ford is some like phenomenal option right now. But Jay coming out says, I have Cup. Deal is if Gibbs scores less than 15 in a half BBR format, I trade Cup and DK Metcalf for Gibbs and CeeDee Lamb. If Gibbs scores more than 15, I trade Cup for Gibbs and Richardson. Should I do it? I could also do Cup for Waddle. Super interesting situation here, my man. I mean, if you're looking at this, Cup to Lamb upgrade, DK to Gibbs upgrade. I think we actually roll the dice. I think you roll the dice and hope that Gibbs has a dud game and we're able to get that first deal. Because if you were able to get that first deal, that would be phenomenal, my friend. That first trade would be awesome. Now, Brian says 10-team PPR where we're currently 0-2. We have Allen, Love, Jefferson, Waddle, Watson, Kirk. Tight end, we have Kittle, Evan, Ingram. And then running back, we have Najee, Kelly, Ford, Hunt, Miller. Any tips for running back? Is Kondre Miller startable? I would say, I I'd probably rather start Ford over him, or I'd rather start Najee. I would rather go Kelly and Najee. I think that Miller could be startable. The thing is, we're just rolling the dice. Like, you have no idea, right? I think it's a great team. I mean, if we could take Evan Ingram and go send him in a package with maybe a running back like Najee Harris to go get a long-term upgrade at RB. I mean, George Kittle is someone that we can start every single week regardless of matchup. I think I'd be slightly intriguing in that, my friend. Now, V Mega coming out with a donation. Thank you. And Logan, I'm sorry, next one coming out from, I believe, Joey says, 2 for the flex. We have Sanders, Christian Watson, Hopkins, Gabe Davis, PPR double flex. I'm starting Aaron Jones at playing and Joe Mixon, and then A.J. Brown, Puka at wide receiver. We're going to go Miles Sanders and Christian Watson. I would go Watson over Hopkins, both players dealing with injuries. I typically try to avoid these guys their first week back. But still, nonetheless, if you are able to lock and load Miles Sanders, someone that's going to get the guaranteed volume, I think Christian Watson has the upside. If Watson doesn't play, then we will pivot to DeAndre Hopkins. And then obviously, last resort, Gabe Davis in that instance. Now, Logan coming out says, full BBR, should I trade Christian Watson and Chuba Hubbard for Josh Jacobs? I would, and I love Christian Watson. Also, rank these wide receivers assuming healthy. Reynolds, Christian Watson, Myers, Zay Jones, and Romeo Doubs. So I'm assuming you mean long-term because Zay Jones has already been ruled out this week. Long-term, I'd go Christian Watson, Jacoby Myers, Zay Jones, Romeo Doubs, Josh Reynolds. Like, Reynolds is a good real-life NFL player. I know he scored touchdowns as of late, but realistically speaking, being able to project him to turn into a starter, it's very hard. For your fantasy team, that is. Young Eddie says, 10 PPR, Mostert and Sanders for Olave. We have Jacobs and CMC. Hell yes, give me Olave there, my man, especially if we have those RBs. Matthew coming out says, 12-team at PPR format, 1 flex. We're 2-0. We have we have Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Olave, Bijan, Pierce, Andrews. And then on the bench, we have Hunt, Tank, Condre Miller, Gabe Davis, Gibson. Should I look to trade Dameon Pierce? I think you could afford to trade away Dameon Pierce. Now, the question is, how do we pull it off, right? Because if I'm going to be honest with you, nobody wants Dameon Pierce right now. Nobody would be excited about getting him. So if I'm going through and trying to construct a Dameon Pierce trade, we have to package him with someone else on this bench that someone would possibly be excited about. And we could pivot up to maybe a running back like Etienne, like Gibbs, like Ramondre, like Mixon, yada, yada, yada. Does Gabe Davis get us there? Nope. Does Miller get us there? Nope. Does Tank get us there? Nope. Does Hunt get us there? You can send these offers. The issue is currently you just have no value being held with Dameon Pierce, where I don't think you're going to be able to pull it off. Like, I'm very sorry. You're probably going to be stuck on your hands for now. Now, Colin coming out says, with Ayuk and David Montgomery out, I need help. Pick a receiver in a flex in a full BBR format. DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, Swift, Dobbs, Miller, Laporta. Like the stream. Yes, drop a like on this live stream if you have not done so already. I think we're going to go ahead for the flex. We're going to be putting in DeAndre Swift. And then for the wide receiver slot, it does suck, but we probably have to play DJ Moore and hope that the Bears just have to ramp up the passing volume when they're going to be trailing this entire game. Okay. So now our next question coming out from, I believe, Artie says, would you trade Mike Williams and Jared Jeudy for Brian Robinson and Christian Watson? Christian Watson over Jared Jeudy, Brian Robinson, Mike Williams, probably Brian Robinson without the running back position looks. Yeah, we probably go with the second pairing. Chad says 10-team dynasty, Pitts in a 4th for Dylan and Devon Achane. I'll go Pitts in the 4th. I'd go Pitts. Obviously, the 4th round pick has no value though. But Angel says 2-0, 10-team BBR. We have Lamar, Bijan, Jacobs, Hopkins, Flowers, Andrews, Walker. On the bench, we have JSN, McLaurin, Hunt, Atwell, Miller, Tank Dell. On the IR, we have Kamara, Kupp, Deontay Johnson. We traded Evans and Puka for Kupp. Regretting trade. What are your thoughts? I think if you look at the raw amount of value that Puka and Evans have right now, you lost this deal. Not going to lie to you. I think you lost it. Now, with that being said, I mean, you're in a situation where It's a 10-team league. We're 2-0. We have all the depth in the world. We are thinking about long-term upside. So I do think that Kupp has the most upside out of these players. It would have just been more so I would have liked to squeeze a little more value out of it. Now, Bob says Barkley and Pacheco for Etienne, Gibbs, and Roschon. Completely fine if you want to make this deal. Would way rather have Gibbs over Pacheco. Would rather have Barkley over Etienne, but I mean, I think it evens out. If you need production now, let's go get Etienne. Nathaniel says Gus Edwards, Joshua Kelly, or Madison in the flex this week. We're going to go Joshua Kelly. Great offense. Every single touch with no Eckler. Rogue Wizard says was just offered Amon-Ra for London and Gibbs. We have Kyron, Brian Robinson, Swift at running back. We have Hill, Ridley at wide receiver in a 2-flex 14-team format. Ooh. Double flex 14-team format's going to actually be harder to make this move. I mean, if it was a 10-team single flex, then it's like easy. It's a no-brainer. Drake London's not a starter. However, in this kind of format, Drake London actually does move the needle. I probably do it. I just want to put an asterisk saying it's hard to get very excited about it. It's hard to get really excited about it for this format. Now, Matthew coming out says we also have Mike Williams. Okay, let's pull this up. If you wanted to send Williams and Pierce, you can. It's just going to be a little bit, I don't know. It's going to be hard for you to get something you really like. Now, Jake coming out says 10-team PPR format, 1 flex. We have Bijan, Kyron, Mostert, JT, Moss, Madison, Amon-Ra, Olave, Kittle, Richardson, Lawrence, Dotson, Addison, London. Should we make any trades? 10-team league, 1 flex. If you wanted to make any deals, I mean, you don't have a lot of flexibility to do it right now. I mean, actually, we have Kyron Williams to start as well. So here's what I would look to do. I would look to see if we could take maybe like Raheem Mostert and Trevor Lawrence and go get a true elite level quarterback, like a top 3 option. Because if you are looking at this, I mean, you're in a spot where you'll have JT back in 2 weeks. Jeff Wilson Jr. will be back in 2 weeks. So we don't even know if we can start Raheem Mostert. You don't need to start Mostert now because we have Kyron Williams to cover for him. And I think we could get a considerable amount of value based off the injury that we have to Nick Chubb, the injury that we have to J.K. Dobbins, injuries that we have all across the NFL. Now, Wham says 10-team BBR1 flex. We traded Jacobs, Pittman, DJ Moore for Waddle, Ridley, Christian Watson. Win or loss, we still have Mixon, Mostert, Swift, JT, Devontae wide receiver 1. Your top 2 and not 2. Thank you so much, my man. So going from Jacobs to say Jalen Waddle upgrade. Pittman to Christian Watson lateral move. DJ Moore to Ridley, massive upgrade. If we have the running back depth where we're able to pull this off, I actually really do like this trade. Yeah, this is like a great example of just the running back position being vaulted up in value based off the injuries that you have across the board. But Tristan says you're the best out here. Thank you, my man. 1-1 in a 10-team full PBR double flex league where we have Allen, Tyreek, Amon-Ra, Ramadre, Javonte, Pat Frymuth. Flex is Kyron Watson. On the bench, we have Roschon, Brees, Myers, Ayuk, Tutu, Dotson. Start, sit, drop, or any trades. Thanks. So thank you, my man. Double flex league. Depth's going to matter a little bit more. We do have plenty of it once we get Ayuk back. I guess Hall, we don't want to start anytime soon. We don't know about Myers. Actually, no, never mind. I think it's a really nice setup where we have Josh Allen at quarterback. We're not rostering a backup QB. The only thing that I would say is with this kind of team, if you wanted to go through, if you wanted to drop someone like Tutu Atwell, or see if we could trade Tutu Atwell and then go get in upgrade somewhere else. Like if you wanted to send Tutu and maybe Javonte, just get a slightly better running back and then roster 2 tight ends when we have Pat Frymuth, where it looks like Frymuth is maybe disappointing compared to what I thought he was going to be. I think that could be interesting just in case we do need another starter here, my man. Now, Jordan says, should I do Diggs and Walker for Ridley and Eckler? Diggs, Eckler, give me Diggs. Walker, Ridley, give me close, probably Ridley. Honestly, up to you. I think it depends on if you can accept a couple zeros from Austin Eckler, maybe this week and the week after. Now, Pedro coming out says, I'm 2-0. Rate my starting lineup. 10-team league PPR, where we have Hurts, CMC, James Cook, Puka, Devonta Smith, Hawkinson, Ryan Robinson. The flex, we have Connor, Garrett Wilson. Oh, this is a great team. Great team, my man. I mean, if we could go through and take like a depth running back that we don't need currently, like Gus Edwards, and go get an elite level wide receiver, go get A.J. Brown to get the double stack with Jalen Hurts, that'd be a no-brainer. But, I mean, you are in a phenomenal situation here currently. Pedro says trade Swift, Hall, Collins for Ramondre and Christian Watson. I personally would, but I'm all out on Hall. I'm all out on Hall. Ray says, would you start Goff over Fields this week? 6-point passing touchdown format, definitely. 4-point passing touchdown format would be a lot tougher. Kieran, always happy to see us, says, drop a like, Flockers. Full BBR need to start a receiver, 2 running backs, and a tight end. We have Kelly Madison or Javonte. We're going to be going with Joshua Kelly and honestly Alexander Madison now that Akers is not good to go. Gabe Davis or Hollywood. We're going to be going ahead. We're going to be taking Gabe Davis and then Zach Ertz or Tyler Higbee. Oh my gosh, tough spot. Probably go Zach Ertz as he has led the NFL in targets. I am very much worried about the Dallas Cowboys defense though. But real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be live for another about hour or so. Let me go pee 1 second. I will be back. Okay, I'm sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Do you need to come say hi? Okay, you can come say hi. I know. Why are you wet? What did you get into? Why are you wet, you weirdo? You being good? You being good? I know. We'll go in a little bit. You can lay under the desk. Okay, so now our next question coming out from, I believe, Curran says 2-0 double flex. We have Lamar, Bijan, Ramondre, Jefferson, Lamb, Flowers, James Cook, and then on the bench, we have Hollywood, Jamal, Tutu, Hopkins, Addison, Michael Thomas. Any flex ideas? Do we make trades or sit still? So our starting lineups, Bijan, Ramondre. Wide receiver, we have Jefferson, Lamb. I will say, starting lineup, I probably don't play Zay Flowers and James Cook in the flex. I probably do go Michael Thomas over James Cook. I'm sorry, over Zay Flowers. I go Michael Thomas and James Cook. I do like Flowers long-term, just like Michael Thomas this week. And I will say, quick side note, if you could get a trade like where we send Tua and maybe a running back upgrade with, say, like Breece Hall, go send Tua and Breece Hall, go get a running back we like a little bit more. I think that could make some sense, my friend. Now, Tyler says 2-0, full BBR, 12-team league with 1 flex. We have Herbert, Sanders, Ford, Higgins, Pittman, Puka. Tight end, we have Andrews. And then on the bench, we have Kupp, Burks, Boyd, Hubbard, Dell, Miller, Breida, Johnson. What trades do we make? We lost JK and Chubb. So really tough spot to be in, my man. I mean, if we're going to be looking down there on the bench, one thing that I do like to see is we are rostering some running backs that do have the ceiling to make a difference in the short term. The primary thing that we're going to be looking to do is just roster as many running backs as we possibly can. I mean, if you could go through and maybe send like, say, Puka and get back a player like Travis Etienne, a player like Jahmyr Gibbs that we really like in a full PPR format for the long term, I think that would be advantageous for this squad overall, where we are just desperate at running back after these 2 injuries. And then we still have down there on the bench like Cooper Kupp coming back later in the season. So that would really be the only thing that I'd be looking to do, my man. And yeah, I think you can start Ford there over the other options on the bench this week. But ladies and gentlemen, we are 4 likes away from hitting 900 likes on this live stream. So please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this stream. Help us hit 900. We are closing in on 200,000 subscribers this season. And of course, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems on Underdog Fantasy, and find that link in the live chat, find it in the description, find it in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match up to $200 on Underdog. Plus, you're going to be getting a up to $500 with the new account with promo code FLOCK now. Plus, you're going to be getting a Lamar Jackson special pick of more than less than half a total yard against the Colts. And ladies and gentlemen, we're shipping out a ton of Flock fantasy ads for people who use promo code FLOCK on Underdog. Please just make sure you go through and fill out the Discord link on flockfantasy.com's Discord if you want that hat. And use promo code FLOCK on Underdog. But our next search coming up from Crazy House says, 10-team full BBR. I'm stuck as who to start this week at running back. We have Kelly, Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, James Conner, Roschon, and Tony Jones Jr. We're going to be starting Jahmyr Gibbs and Joshua Kelly, my man. Not going to lie to you, I know a lot of people would disagree with us with our Joshua Kelly call. I mean, Kelly, really bad last week. I mean, let a lot of people down. But at the end of the day, he is still seeing every single touch in this backfield. It's an elite level offense. It's a much better matchup as well. So I will go right back to the well. Okay, now our next question coming out from Kanye says, 0-2, 10-team PBR, where we have Lawrence, Ramondre, Kelly, Chase, Lamb, Andrews, Devonta Smith. And then on the bench, we have Ford, Madison, Montgomery, Addison, Mike Williams, Roschon, Warren. Any advice? Oh, and 2 team, honestly, my man, I mean, some of these guys that we really like the long-term upside of, someone like, say, David Montgomery, if he comes back, especially in a full PBR format, you may not be in a position where we can just wait for him to come back. You honestly may be in a position where it's like, oh, okay, we're 0-2. Now I need to sell him, get any upgrade I can in the starting lineup right now. That way we don't fall to 0-3. That way we don't fall to 0-4. So if we could take, say, Montgomery and Joshua Kelly, or say Montgomery and Mike Williams, and go get a running back too that we like a little bit more in the long term, I would really like that, my friend. Now, our next question. Let's go through and find this. Sorry, it's going to take me 1 second. Coming out from Jack says, 2-0, 10-team PBR format, where we have Herbert, Richardson, Bijan, Eckler, Jacobs, Kelly, Smith, Amari, Puka, Lockett, Pickens, Henry Njoku, Devon A-Chain, Spears, Charbonnet. Thoughts and any trades? Great team. Trying to think of anything, my man. Great team. We need Kelly right now when we have Eckler. The only thing I would say is if we could send Puka and get back one of those elite receivers like A.J. Brown, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, like Olave. I've seen a lot of those trades in the live stream as of late. I would go ahead and pull the trigger on that just for long-term upside, especially for 2-0. We should be thinking a little more long-term here. That is something I would like, my friend. Now, Demetrius says, Mason, non-PBR, we got to start 2. Mostert, Hall, Mixon, and Roschon. We're definitely going to go with Raheem Mostert and Joe Mixon here, my friend. Honestly, going to be a no-brainer for us there. Now, next question coming out from Aiden, who says, who to choose between Madison, London, Christian Watson, Godwin for the 2 flex options? I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Chris Godwin and probably Alexander Madison. I would have told you Christian Watson if Cam Akers was active, but no Akers. I think you'd play Madison. Waddle and Amari are my current receivers. What would you do if no Waddle? No Waddle, we would go through and we would slide Christian Watson in if he's healthy. And then last resort is Drake London. Now, Dylan says tiered PPR 1.5, 2, and 3. Interesting. Or, oh no, you're saying half PPR. Let me close the door real quick. Interesting that it's not just like a 0.5, 1, and 1.5. But anyway, this is the case. If it's 1.5, 2, and 3, I mean, hell, tight ends are looking juicy. But London, Kincaid, Edwards, Tank Dell, Zach Moss, 100 rushing yard gets you the 5 bonus. We need a running back and a flex. We're going to be going, if 100-yard rushing gets you a bonus, we're going to be going with Edwards and Zach Moss. Honestly, I'm going to be doing this almost regardless, right? Both these running backs are seeing every single touch out of the backfield. I think you honestly just kind of have to lock him and load him in. C-Bones coming out says 12-team half PPR format, 3 wide receivers and a flex. Was offered Tyreek for Waddle and Kyron. I already have Mostert, White, Taylor. Okay, yeah. Even in this format where depth matters a little bit more, 100% we will take Tyreek Hill here, especially if you have Waddle dealing with the concussion. But Cuz says Waddle, James Cook, Olave for Pollard, DK, and Dotson. So let's go best player on one side, Olave versus best player on the other, Pollard. Then Waddle over DK, James Cook over Dotson. Seems like a fair deal to go out there and pay for an elite level RB. I'd say maybe there's a little more value for me on the Waddle and Olave side, but I love Waddle. Toast says I have Laporta. Is it worth risking Taysom this week? I'll just start. I would start Taysom if it was, say, a non-PBR format. If it's a non-PBR format where the receptions don't matter and we're really just looking for touchdown upside, go Taysom Hill. Full PBR format would probably go Sam Laporta. Now, Sam coming out says 12-team PBR where we have Allen, Bijan Mostert, Amari Debo, Ertz, Odell, Algier, Jeff Wilson Jr. We traded Garrett Wilson, Zach Moss, Rondale Moore for Debo, Algier, and Raheem Mostert. Would way rather have Debo over Garrett Wilson. Moss versus Mostert, about the same. Rondale, Algier, give me Algier. Yeah, I love that deal, my man. Who can I trade for Diggs or an upgrade at wide receiver? If you wanted to go through and see if we could package together maybe like Debo off a strong game and flip him with maybe if we have like a running back too like Raheem Mostert, if we go Debo and Raheem and then get to Diggs for the long term, I think that'd make a lot of sense. Now, George says 12-team PBR traded Brown and Madison for Jamar Chase. Quarterback, we have Mahomes. Wide receiver, we have Chase, Lamb, Evans, Judy, Jameson. Running back, we have Hall, Walker, Kamara. Tight end, we have Schultz. What do you think? I like the deal. I think maybe this week it looks a little bit tough whenever you have the Burrow injury. And at the same time, Alexander Madison should be pretty damn good this week if you have no Cam Akers in what should be one of the highest scoring games of the weekend. But still, nonetheless, if you're in a situation where long-term we're getting Chase, who is the 102 in the majority of drafts, I think it does make a lot of sense. Now, Scott says 1-1 in a non-PBR format where we have Barkley, Ramondre, Pacheco, Amon-Ra, Olave, Pitts, and then on the bench we have Warren, Godwin, Pickens, Njoku, Charbonnet, Bateman, Romeo Dobbs. Should we package Saquon plus more for Jonathan Taylor from an 0-2 team? Oh, if you're 0-2, hell no. Hell no. I mean, there's a small chance that we are actually going to be able to see Saquon Barkley back, next week. I know it was a high ankle sprain, but the reports around it are saying, yeah, it's a high ankle sprain, but don't worry about it. He almost played this week. While it's not great, while we definitely should monitor it, we know for a damn fact Jonathan Taylor is not going to be playing over the next 2 weeks. And the last thing I want to do on an 0-2 roster is trade for someone that has no chance to. Now, Mr. Swisher says, should I trade Addison and Roschon for Hopkins? Up to you. Really, that is a personal preference thing. I'd probably go Addison and Roschon if I'm going to be honest. But V Mega, always happy to see you, says, love the channel, my guy. 0-2 at PBR. We have Hurts, Jefferson, Higgins, Zach Moss, Algier, Goddard. And then on the bench, we have Moore, Ayuk, Warren, Tutu, Warren, Pirine, Ingram, Roschon. Who do I flex and any trade ideas? So flex, it's a tough spot with no Brandon Ayuk this week. I think we are going to have to go ahead. We are going to have to play DJ Moore. The only thing that I would say is, it would be so nice if we could feel confident about who we have at tight end with either Evan Ingram or Dallas Goedert. Like if one or the other, went through and was good for us this week, that would make life so much easier. where there we can look to go ahead and sell the other guy in a package to get an upgrade at running back. Because I will say in the long term, this is a team that needs to be prioritizing RB. I mean, we're kind of fine right now based off the volume that Zach Moss is getting. But once Jonathan Taylor's back in, if Zach Moss is no longer viable, you're going to be in a world of pain. So what I would probably look to do is I would probably look to go ahead and see if we can make a move where we trade one of the tight ends, get an upgrade long-term at RB2. And another side note is I understand we're already rostering a ton of running backs down on the bench, but I would take it even one step further. I mean, if you're going to be trying to make a deal like that, throw in Tutu Atwell for literally free, right? I mean, just see if anybody wants him. But if you can't get anything for him, I wouldn't even mind on a team that needs running back this much where you're so damn strong at receiver. If you wanted to go ahead and cut Tutu and just pick up another running back off the waiver wire. Just roster as many of them as possible. Try to find the next Kyron Williams. Max says trade Burrow, Chase, London, Dotson, Kareem for Richardson, Jacobs, Mike Williams, Flowers, Roschon. Brees and Dalvin are my RBs. Ooh, gross. So definitely need running back upgrades going from Burrow to Richardson, probably a downgrade. Chase to Jacobs, definitely a downgrade. London to Williams, slight upgrade. Dotson to Flowers. Yeah, you're giving up too much here, my man. I understand the thought process. Yes, running back's gross. Yes, it does seem like a dire situation. But same time, I think you got to sit on your hands. I mean, if this is the best deal we have, like when we drafted Burrow and Chase, let their value collapse, and then we went through and sold them for pennies. How do we overcome that, you know? I think the only hope that team has is maybe hit off a running back off the waiver wire and then see if Burrow just gets better overall for the Bengals. Now, Biggie says 10-team PBR. We're 0-2. We landed Hill for Puka, Wilson, Ford, and Pierce. Oh my gosh, in a 10-team league, that is beautiful. Now we have Lawrence, Stevenson, Kyron, Hill, Chase, Allen, Henry, Montgomery, Dotson, Goff, and Roschon. Great deal. Great deal. Great team. 10-team league, 1 flex league. It's exactly like the video we were talking about today, like the type of trades that you want to be making. It's exactly what we're looking for. Alex says, we need running back help. We got offered Henry for Puka and Jonathan Taylor. What are your thoughts? I also want to offer Puka, Devonta Smith for Tyreek. I'd rather do that. Or Tua and Puka for Josh Allen. I'd rather do that. The thing is, 2 weeks from now, depending on how Jonathan Taylor plays, he may end up being viewed in the same tier as Derrick Henry. I know it sounds crazy to say it right now, but fundamentally, it's a possibility that we are looking at Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor kind of being the same in the long term. So that's the case, and we're moving on Puka. If you're 0-2 and you're great at wide receiver and we need running backs to play right now or we're not going to win, then we can go through and make it. I just assume you'd get a little more value from Puka, if I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Christian says, full BBR 10-team league. My running backs are Stevenson, Brian Robinson. Wide receiver, we have Jefferson, Chase, Smith. On the bench, we have Pittman, Judy, Godwin, Addison. Traded Pittman for Alvin Kamara. What are your thoughts? Phenomenal deal. Especially in a 10-team league where this wide receiver depth doesn't really matter too much. Getting a running back that has a lot of upside, like Alvin Kamara, I think is the perfect swing. Especially if you look at the injury that we have to Jamal Williams, where it now just seems like Alvin Kamara is going to have an even larger role. Now, Ben says 10-team at BBR format. We had Chubb and got offered Rashad White for Michael Pittman. My wide receiver running back on the team worth noting are A.J. Brown, Higgins, Debo, Connor, Kamara, Roschon. I would rather have Rashad White over Michael Pittman, especially now that we have the Chase Edmonds injury. Rashad White isn't a bad offense. I don't think the Bucs are going to be as good going forward. I don't think they're going to be in as good of game environments. But still, nonetheless, I mean, I would take the running back that's getting pretty much every single touch here. Okay. Now, Bumbo coming out saying, 0-2, 10-team PBR format, where we have Purdy, Gibbs, Kyron, Chase, Brown, Ertz, Lamb. On the bench, we have Cook, Gainwell, Collins, Moss, Atwell, Reynolds. Any advice? If you're going to be looking at someone like Zach Moss is one of these running backs that we really like in the short term, but fundamentally is sitting here with a limited shelf life, right? Like, we don't know if Zach Moss is going to be great whenever we end up getting Jonathan Taylor back in this offense. Obviously, that remains to be seen if it's even going to happen, but still, it's a possibility. So if you wanted to go through, if you wanted to see if we can sell Zach Moss to a team that really needs a running back right now, send him with Zach Ertz to get a tight end that we really like, I would like to do that. But Country Connected, always out here, happy to see us, says, yo, we have Allen, Eckler, Mostert, Moss, Hall, Amon-Ra, Pittman, DK, Hall, Deontay Williams, Davis. Who do I start with Eckler out in any trades going forward? Honestly, if we're looking at this roster now, I think you are in a very comfortable position with the depth and the balance throughout it. I'm not necessarily looking at going through and making any trades right now. I think in our starting lineup, we're going to go Josh Allen at quarterback. Running back, we're going to go with Raheem Mostert and Zach Moss. Wide receiver, we're going to go with St. Brown and Michael Pittman. And then for the flex, we are DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, kind of going to be up to you. I think that they are in a similar tier with no Eckler. I think most people would say to go DK Metcalf, though. Now, Egbo out here, happy to see my man, says 12-team full BBR, 3 wide receivers, 1 flex. We have Eckler, Moss, Mostert, Mixon, Akers, Jeff Wilson. Receivers are DK, Mike Williams, Godwin, 2-0, but we need a defense. Who are we going to drop? If you had to drop someone, if Jeff Wilson Jr. is taking up a roster spot for you, we're going to go ahead and we are going to look to drop him. Obviously, if he's on your IR, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But if you are looking at Jeff Wilson Jr. as a running back, that when he comes back into Miami, I mean, I do think that, I don't know. He's going to split with Mostert, right? Side of that, I don't know who we could drop. If we can't drop Jeff Wilson Jr., we're really going to make a 2-for-1 deal, my man. Now, Beber says 1-1, 12-team double flex league. We have Brian Robinson, Nico for CeeDee Lamb, or Brian Robinson for JT. We need running backs. I'd rather have Lamb and JT. Lamb and JT. And I was saying to go through and buy low on Brian Robinson. Like, Brian Robinson was a buy low guy for us last week. White Girl, happy to see, says start to Mostert, Kelly, Connor, or Moss, full PBR. I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to go Joshua Kelly and Raheem Mostert. All these running backs pretty much get every single touch in their backfield, but these are going to be the guys that are in just better offenses overall. Now, what are you doing? Says I'm 3-1 and traded Jacobs for Barkley. What are your thoughts? I think it makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. Lucas says win or loss, 12-team full PBR double flex. We have Kyron and London for Eckler. Give me Eckler. We have Pollard, Madison, especially if we have the players that we can play in the short term right now. Yeah, I think that Eckler does have the long-term upside. It is a little concerning that not only is he going to miss this week, but he's already ruled out. He didn't practice at all. So it looks like Austin Eckler may be a player that you have to worry about missing next week as well. Okay. Now, EC says full BBR traded away Puka and Kyron Williams for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I kind of like it. I will say you probably didn't get enough market value-wise. Seeing what people are getting Puka for, seeing what they're trading Puka for, you could have maybe swung just a little more value. But Jake says went and traded Lawrence and Mostert for Lamar. Beautiful, my man. Lalo says, Ramondre faces so many tough run defenses. Should I be worried? Debating on packaging him or James Cook for Mixon and a quarterback upgrade. Thanks. And as always, hook him, my man. And I will say, if it's a full BBR format, I would still rather have Ramondre over James Cook. Ramondre, Joe Mixon. That is going to be up to you. And honestly, just either direction you want to go in, you can. So it depends, obviously, on the quarterback upgrade. I don't mind the idea. Just if it was maybe, say, James Cook and Ramondre for Mixon straight up, then I'd really not. Or, I mean, I wouldn't like it, if that makes sense. Now, Fruit Punch says, 10-team at BBR, do I trade Ridley and Ford for Jefferson? Hell yes, you do this, my man. Ford's probably going to split with Hunt. I don't know how excited we can be. Virtual Tag says, Watson, Pacheco, Hall to get Jacobs, JSN, and Zeke. Jacobs over Watson. Pacheco doesn't matter. Hall versus JSN and Zeke, probably Hall. Fair deal, I'd probably go Jacobs. Jordan says full BBR we got offered Montgomery and Pickens for Saquon Barkley. I'd much prefer Saquon Barkley. Yeah, we even had George Pickens, the buy low guy last week, but I'd still rather have Barkley. And then we have Jacobs, Pirine, Dalvin, Pittman, Addison, Kirk, Hollywood, and Deontay. Yeah, because the issue is if we're going through and making this deal, right, it's not like, oh, okay, we need running back production right now. Let's sell Saquon Barkley. Let's go get some points in the line. No, Montgomery's not giving anything right now either. So, please keep Saquon Barkley there, my friend. Spencer says Cousins, Madison, White, Diggs, Olave, Hawkinson, Allen at the flex. And then on the bench, we have Judy, Russ, Bourne, Hubbard, Reynolds. 12-team full BBR format, any trades. I don't see any trades. The only thing I'd say is Madison's not going to be viable for us long-term, right? So Madison's not viable for us long-term. We're rostering Alexander Madison, Rashad White, Chuba Hubbard at running back. We have 3 RBs. I think you got to cut a backup quarterback. I think you got to cut a wide receiver and go pick up a couple more running backs off the waiver wire so we can be the next person to find the next Joshua Kelly, the next, say, Kyron Williams, the next Zach Moss. Trades, no, but we're definitely going to look to go through and see if we can get it. Crazy House says, can I get a flock hat in Canada? Yes, we are shipping flock hats to Canada. I know Underdog has Underdog's available everywhere in Canada, but Ontario, though. Okay. Now, Lux says, Mason said, I answered both these, my man. Please rewind. I'm not going to be able to find them again. I promise you I answered. I'll look them up again, but yeah, no, we answered both those a long time ago. Alex says, would you trade who would you trade Koopa evenly for? 2-0, we need a running back. Do you mean Puka? It's like if Cooper Kupp and Puka had a baby. If we were going to look to go through and trade Puka for a running back, we would look to go ahead and probably send him for ETN or Jahmyr Gibbs if it's a full PPR format. Omar says, I took a shower, ate dinner, took out the garbage, went on TikTok, had a whole convo with my girlfriend, and you're still live. Respect and tank or Allen Robinson. Appreciate you, my man. And I will go tank Dell over Allen Robinson. It's one of the very few spots you'll ever hear me tell someone to go ahead and start tank Dell. But yeah, I mean, I'm just not in on A-Rob at all. But thank you, my man. Watson says, start Javonte or Kyron. We're going to go Kyron, seeing every snap. Adria says, should I bench a quarterback playing in the East Coast? Obviously, this will be something we have to continue to monitor with the weather. It's hard to know what the weather's going to be like on Friday. We talked about this earlier in the live stream. We're going to talk about this a lot. But typically, just think about your own local weather, right? How many days have you been in a spot where you check your phone, you go, okay, yeah, it's going to rain later today. Ooh, that's interesting. And then it never rains, or vice versa. And it's like the morning of. Obviously, if we're projecting weather out 2 to 3 days, it's hard to know. It does look like it's something that we're going to have to monitor, but I'm not making start to sit decisions on Friday regarding weather on Sunday. That will be something that we explore and think a little bit more about on a Sunday morning, my friend. Jordan says, do I trade Jefferson, Brian Robinson, Javonte, Rashad White for Henry, A.J. Brown, and Olave? So we're swapping entire teams here. So Brian Robinson and Henry upgrade. Javonte to Olave upgrade. Rashad White, A.J. Brown upgrade. But we trade Justin Jefferson to get it done. I have no idea. I typically say, okay, well, if we are going to be in a spot where we're swapping almost entire teams, the majority of the time, this is a trade that we don't really want to do. The majority of trades that we look for is we try to find deals that are going to be a clear win-win for multiple parties. There's going to be a big-time loser and there's going to be a big-time winner, you know? If we're just trying to figure out who we're going to be, I don't know. It's tough spot, my man. I don't love trades. Like, we're just swapping entire teams. Arthur says, Pickens, Moss, or Amari at the flex this week. Thanks for all the help, bro. No, thank you so much, my man, for being a member of the flag. We will go with Moss, seeing every snap. Mike says, which two do we start at the flex? Madison, Kirk, Kelly, Frymuth, Henry, Shaheed, Hubbard. We're going to be going with Joshua Kelly for damn sure. And honestly, Alexander Madison, there are just going to be so many points scored in that game, and they're the only running backs in their respective backfields. Brian says, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Roschon, Bills defense, or Taylor, JSN, Dotson. Roschon to JSN upgrade. Bills defense to John Dotson, who the hell cares? Amon-Ra St. Brown to Jonathan Taylor. Probably St. Brown. I'd probably go St. Brown's side. I mean, this is a deal that we can look to make maybe next week, but unless you're 2-0 and you're telling me, Mason, I'm loaded up regardless. But Illis coming out says, 10-team map PBR 1 flex. We have Burrow, Olave, Jefferson, Smith, White, Walker, Goddard, and then on the bench we have Nico Collins, Flowers, Goff, Brian Robinson, Pickens, Kyron Williams, JT. Any trade ideas? Love the content. Thank you so much, my man. I think it's a great team once Burrow's fully healthy. Obviously, that's a big if. Start Goff this week over him. And when we have this many running backs, if you really wanted to take like Brian Robinson and Dallas Goedert, if we can get to a legitimate RB1, then we go ahead and do it. But at the same time, much easier said than done, right? I'm sorry, a legitimate like top end elite level tight ends, we do it. But obviously there are only like 2 of those guys. But I think we are 1 like away from hitting 1,000 likes on this stream. Please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream, ladies and gentlemen. We've been live for over 3 hours. We've streamed for 147 days in a row. And of course, if you want to check out any of these pick'ems on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, find it in the description, find it in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match up to $100. I'm sorry, up to $500 on new accounts. Keep on forgetting that that's the new promo. Yeah, only with promo code FLOCK. You're also going to be getting our rest of season 2023 fantasy football rankings and tiers. A Lamar Jackson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. And we are shipping out Flock fantasy ads for people who use promo code FLOCK on Underdog. We have a couple of our favorite pick'ems highlighted this week. And also one that I know a lot of y'all would really like is the Mike Evans, more than 4 receptions or more than 53.5 total yards. But I think that should be it for this live stream. Again, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I really, really do appreciate you. I really hope you have a great day and really hope that we get to see you out with the live stream tomorrow night.